Just before we get to the anthem, in the absence of our mayor tonight, I'm just going to ask for a motion of council, if we could have appointed chair for tonight's meeting.
I would move Councilor Peter Randall.
Second.
And seconded by Councilor Curio. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Councilor Curio, if you wouldn't mind taking the chair. Sorry? Peter Angelo.
He's the taller one on the show.
I'm still thinking of the seconder.
Thanks, everyone. Good evening. Happy New Year. Generally, we start off with singing O Canada. Tonight, we have a special guest here. Her name is Isabella Milano. Isabella, welcome. You want to take your spot up here at the mic? Isabella is a 14-year-old. She started singing and learning about music at the age of 5. In 2018, she won an award with the Kiwanis Music Festival as the most promising voice. She's a student of the Royal Conservatory of Music and is currently in her 7th year of training. She volunteers with the Niagara Falls History Museum, sings classical, pop, and folk music, and has been performing both the American and Canadian national anthem at hockey games as well as at City Hall for the last number of years. So welcome, and you can start whenever you like.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons' command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, Isabella, for that wonderful rendition. I was very tempted to join in, but I don't know that I would have done it any justice. So, please have your seats. Okay, first order of business is the adoption of the minutes from the December 11th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Any questions or comments about the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Thank you. Under disclosures of pecuniary interest, I'll start on my left. Okay. No? Okay. Yep, Councillor Strange?
Yes, I have a conflict with Agenda 6.5. That is my broker, his land abuts that land.
Okay, sounds good. Any other conflicts? Councillor Coco?
I have a conflict with check number 421006, 421812, 422286, 422789, 422875, payable to Project Share, and I'm a board member.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Arnone?
Check number 422478 made out to myself, and check, it's terrible when your eyes get that, 422726 made out to a member of my family.
Okay, thank you.
No old jokes there.
Were there any other?
Your worship, I have a conflict with the municipal accounts. However, as you realize, the iPad has not been working, and I clicked on the municipal accounts right now, and I don't have anything written on it. There's nothing there.
Okay.
I'll report it back later. I too am a member of the Board of Directors of Project Share, but I don't see that as a pecuniary interest. So I'm just going to declare the one. I'll get the number back.
Okay. Thanks, Counselor. If everyone else is gone, then I have, there's 3 checks made out to the Niagara Catholic District School Board, my employer. I can say the numbers, 00192-0004, 00194-0002, and 00187-0006. And that's my employer. Okay. I guess a warm welcome to John Hiltz, who is filling in as our Sergeant of Arms tonight. John, welcome. Welcome. Hopefully you get a warm reception tonight. Okay, if there's no other disclosures, then we move on to everyone's favorite part, which is the mayor's remarks. Start with obituaries. There's one under Kenneth Heaslip, who is a retired city employee, Jackie Hendry, who was an employee of Library Services, and my grandmother, Leona Thibodeau. Council representatives, Councillor Strange, for bringing greetings at the Canada Day and Santa Claus Parade Volunteer Appreciation, and also for bringing greetings at the 2019 Police Association of Ontario Winter Conference, and for Councillor Thompson for bringing greetings at the annual New Year's Levy at the Armory. Upcoming city events, the annual Sports Wall of Fame is coming up on Sunday, January 27th. It'll be at the Gale Center at 2 p.m. And I think this year it doesn't conflict with football, which is a good thing, because it always used to be on Championship Sunday, but this year it doesn't. So other than that, Happy New Year to everyone. I know that we have a lot of work to do, so we'll start with the agenda. Under deputations, we have our first one is from Niagara Region Waste Management, and is Catherine here? Welcome. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. And you're joined tonight?
Brad Whitelaw.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you. Is this ready to go? Is this ready to go, or?
You could just close that off if that wasn't
Okay.
your intent.
No, I'm not.
There's a mouse there for you to use.
Okay. Is it on PowerPoint or is it a? Is it? It's not going. No. It doesn't look like it's in, sorry. It doesn't look like it's in a slide presentation. It's not allowed.
Maybe just try closing it and opening it up.
It looks like it's an Adobe and not a slide.
It's also you can go to view and full screen. Full screen mode. Should be able to progress.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, we're good. Technical difficulties. It wasn't the user. Good evening, Mayor and members of Niagara Falls Council. My name is Catherine Habermal. I'm the acting acting Commissioner of Public Works for the Niagara region. Sorry, my title just changed 2 weeks ago. And I have Brad Whitelaw here, who's the project manager, and he's the project lead on the stakeholder consultation for this project. So this evening, we're here to talk about the proposed collection options for the next collection contract. We do have a number of slides. Some slides we're going to speak to in detail, some in very little detail, and some we're just going to skip through out of respect for the 10-minute delegation timeline. So, and we can answer questions after the presentation, but the slides are in your package for your reference. So just to provide a little background to set the context, right now our current collection contract goes till 2021. but in order to plan appropriately, we need to start the planning process now and be able to set the service levels and then let an RFP allow the successful bidder at least a year to secure the resources for the contract. We have undertaken a number of stakeholder consultations with various stakeholders across the region with different sectors and a broad-based stakeholder consultation with the public. We did take a report to our Public Works Committee last week. And then we're also going to report back in March of this year, so in a couple months after we're done our consultation with the local municipalities. So in terms of selecting our options, our service level options, we wanted to increase the participation in the region's diversion programs. We wanted to look at potential cost avoidance. We looked at our curbside audits. We undertake audits every 2 years, and that gives us factual data that we can look at and design our programs around that. We also looked at best practices and major trends in 19 comparative municipalities across the province. We also want to improve our program communication to residents and businesses, as well as we wanted to standardize the garbage container limits across the various sectors in the region. So moving to the options, the first option is every other week garbage collection. And this would be applied to the residential sector and the industrial, commercial, and institutional sector and mixed use properties that are located outside the designated business area as a base service. I do want to highlight under this scenario that we would continue to collect organics, so the green bin, and the recyclables every week. And then we would also double the container limits for each property under this scenario. We also looked at mandatory use of clear bags for all sectors inside and outside the designated business areas. Staff did not recommend this as a go-forward option, but our Public Works Committee requested that we add this back in. And right now, all we're asking is to allow these services to be included in the RFP to obtain pricing for them. So in terms of looking at every other week in clear bags, certainly there's some benefits to that. It extends the existing landfill site capacity. We avoid costs, and also we know that increased diversion rates, and I'll speak to that a bit later in the presentation. But we also know, based on our audits, that less than one bag is placed out at the curb on average by residents, and in that one bag it typically contains about 50% organic material that could be better managed through the green bin program, and also 14% of that material is recyclables that could have been managed through the recycling program, leaving only 36% of the bag actual garbage destined for landfill. Looking at other municipalities and some of the benefits that they have realized, increased waste diversion anywhere from 6% to 16%, and cost avoidance from anywhere from $200,000 annually in Barrie to $12 million in Peel. And just recently, the region of Waterloo implemented every other week garbage collection, and they saw an annual savings of about $1.5 million. Moving forward with the other options, we're looking at establishing a 4-item limit for the large household items, and this would be per pickup. So you could schedule multiple pickups throughout the year, but you would only be able to put out 4 per pickup. And also we looked at discontinuing appliances and scrap metal because of the low usage. And by the time our contractor arrives at the site of the properties that place it out, it's gone. But I do want to note at our meeting last week, Public Works did ask that we include this as an option to seek pricing. Moving into the industrial, commercial, institutional, and mixed-use properties, we want to reduce the garbage container limits from 7 to 4 as a base service, and also mixed use from 6 to 4. And this really aligns to what's being serviced right now in the IC&I, industrial, commercial, institutional. They currently receive 4. And again, looking at the data that we have, on average, these businesses are only putting out 2 garbage containers per pickup. And I'll just skip through these. These are just in your package for your reference. This is the areas that are maps that outline your DBAs that receive base and enhance. And when I talk about base, base is really the service that's provided across the region to all sectors. It's the same service. Enhanced services are services that municipalities can request. For instance, and I can go into a bit detail, are more frequent garbage collection or recycling collection weekly or additional garbage bags. And those services are paid directly by the local municipality. So just moving through. So the next slides, again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. We put these slides in here to show you that our data demonstrates that the properties are not setting out the full limit of garbage bags, and they're not utilizing the recycling and organics program. So there is room. The point here with these slides is there's room for opportunity to divert material into the existing programs that are available to these businesses. So as I said, enhanced services, I've spoke to this. Looking at Niagara Falls specifically, these are the enhanced services that you currently receive under the current contract and the associated costs. You have front-end garbage collection, you have litter bin collection, and then additional waste collection in the designated business areas of 15 bags per pickup. When we talk to the municipalities, we met with your staff, we're encouraging them to review the enhanced services, to look at where there's opportunity to decrease the amount of waste that's being collected and increase participation in the recycling programs. Again, this same thing, just showing you that the businesses currently aren't fully utilizing their garbage limits that they have now, the 15, and the recycling and organics programs are being underutilized. So I'm going to turn it over to Brad. He led the stakeholder consultation and engagement process, and he'll speak to some of the results.
Thanks, Catherine. As I mentioned, we did an extensive stakeholder consultation with various groups, business groups, which include BIAs, chambers of commerce, businesses themselves, the residents, tourism groups, as well as the municipalities themselves. So, like I said, I won't go through all these slides in detail. They're in your package, but if you have any questions or whatever, I'll be happy to answer them for you. We started, like I say, in the consultation for the municipalities back in May, and it will wrap up at the end of this month. From the business groups, we started their consultation in July, and that wrapped up in November. And you've got all the details there of when we met with the various groups and the information that we obtained from them. From the BIAs that we got, we did get a response from Victoria Centre and Queen Street. I'll go over that in the next slide. The response that we received from Victoria was a reduction in the container limit for enhanced collection services from 15 to weekly collection. They did not support it. They do not support mandatory use of clear bags, as well as they would not be contingent on seeing a report on how the contractor would educate its staff on material that goes into the proper containers. In addition, we received a request from Victoria that is just change the start time from 7 a.m. right now to 5 a.m. Queen Street, same thing, do not support the reduction in the container limit from 7 to 4 per week. They do not support mandatory use of clear bags. For the residents, we consulted with them in October, November. Letters were also sent out to the businesses and multi-residential properties that were utilizing the region's curbside collection service, and we provided information that, as well as a link to the online survey that they could complete to provide us with their comments. In October, late November, or October and November, we conducted public open houses and community booths in all 12 municipalities. We had, as you see there, approximately 7 people attend the public open houses. The community booths, approximately 7 people attended those collectively throughout the region. From the online surveys that we had, that closed in November 30th, we had a total of 6,630 online surveys completed, and right now, all of the results have been compiled by the consultant in their report, and we receive some of the responses from multi-residential as well as the IC&I and mixed-use properties as well. The consultant also conducted a random telephone survey with low-density residential properties. Approximately 1,200 were completed in the region. We also received comments from residents through the Facebook advertisement, through the region's waste info line, calls that were directed to the region, through web submissions, emails, and in-person feedback that was provided to the region. These next couple of slides are going to just go over a bit of the preliminary results that the region was received from the consultant. These ones here were specific to whether the choice was asked whether they would support clear bag or every other week garbage collection. There was telephone, as I mentioned, telephone and online responses there. These are the ones that were specific to the municipality itself, and the responses that we received from them with clear bag and every other week. And then we asked residents would they be in support of either clear bag or every other week. And the next slide that we have there are the specific responses that we received from Niagara region, or Niagara public. And these are the support whether they were in favor of clear bag or every other week garbage collection. What we found with the results that we did get from the region, that residents that were contacted there was some support. It was pretty much mixed between those that were in favor of every other week and those that were not. About 48% were in favor of it through the telephone surveys, 58% through the online surveys that were completed. With regards to whether there was little or no impact. On the telephone, 48% of the households indicated that there was little or no impact for them if they went to every other week garbage collection. The results that we found were very similar across the various municipalities that did respond. The businesses outside the DBA expressed a need to continue with weekly collection, although not fully utilizing the diversion programs, as Catherine had mentioned before. The mandatory use of clear bags, telephone survey support was split. It was about 48% would support it, 52% were not in support of it. The online responses was more divided. It was 27% would support it, 73% would not support it, of those that completed it. For the 4-item limit to the large item collection, it was largely supported by the survey responses. The majority of residents that responded to it said it would have little to no impact on their households. Through the telephone, it was 89%, and online, it was 78%. The elimination of the appliances and scrap metal collection, the program was not widely used, as Catherine had mentioned. The responses indicated that there would be little to no impact through the telephone survey, and 78% online had indicated that. The reduction of the container limits for the businesses inside the designated business areas from 7 to 4, there was a slight majority that said that they could manage a reduction to 4 containers. Less than half felt that there would be a significant impact to them on their business property. And the reduction of the collection frequency for businesses inside the DBA, there was a smaller survey sample that did respond, but they were largely in agreement with that. And the reduction of the frequency of collection by 1 day would be a challenge for these businesses. The reduction of the container limits for mixed-use properties outside the DBAs from the 6 to 4 containers was only about 1/3 of them felt that they could manage that reduction from 6 to 4, and 60% felt that there would be contract changes that we're looking at. Additional 4 weeks of dedicated leaf and yard waste collection and brush collection in the spring and fall seasons in the urban areas, as well as elimination of the current restriction on the regional curbside garbage collection for IC&I properties outside designated business areas. If they have private garbage collection, right now these properties must be participating in the region's diversion programs to qualify to receive that. In addition, we're looking for provision of enhanced services for large item collection service to multi-residential and mixed-use properties with one unit that receive the curbside or base or enhanced garbage collection service. Currently, this service is only provided to low-density residential properties, so those are single-family up to 6 units. These properties must be participating in the region's diversion programs in order to qualify to receive this service. And the service would be provided in the same manner that the low-density residential properties would receive it. So the next steps that we're looking at is to, the region would like to receive formal comments, excuse me, from the local area municipalities by February 1st, or we've extended that date to February 20th. And we're looking for your comments or positions on the proposed base collection services that we identified tonight, as well as verification of the current and enhanced services that were identified. And this includes the provision of the enhanced garbage large item collection services for multi-residential and mixed-use residential properties, as well as a verification if any municipalities would like to include a per stop price for in-ground public space recycling and litter bins, and for in-ground for IC&I multi-residential and mixed-use properties for all streams, as an enhanced service under provisional items.
Okay, thank you. Let me see if there's any questions of council. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll start it off. Having used a large item pickup, typically I would call and say I've got a mattress and an old dresser. And by the time your people get there to pick it up, my neighbor snuck over in the middle of the night throwing a whole bunch of stuff on it. My neighbor down the street snuck over in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, there's more than 4 items there. What is going to happen on my property if there's more than 4 items?
Through the mayor, I'm not aware of this happening a lot, so it's that's an interesting comment. Is the material taken then?
It has been up to this point, but now that you are actually restricting it.
See, under the current program, they're not supposed to take anything that's not booked. So I'm surprised
Well,
that they're
yeah,
taking it. But
they have.
so my comment to that would be that if there is issues like that, then they would call us and we would manage it. We would come back out and pick it up.
Okay, I just don't want to see garbage left on my,
Yep.
it's not garbage, but that type of stuff left on my lawn.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council members? Sure, Councillor Thompson.
I've been asked about, from people, saying you have your green and your gray containers, and they see the people loading them in the trucks, and they throw them in the same area. Do they mix those up, or is that a problem? Or is that something you have concerns about?
Through the mayor to the councillor. So it's the same truck that picks up, so it's called co-collection. So the same truck will pick up waste and organics, but there's a divider down the middle of the truck. And so they're kept in separate compartments. But the opening is the same with both materials go in, but it's just divided.
So they
Similarly
are-
with the blue and gray box material, it's divided in the truck as well.
So they are divided,
Yes, that's correct.
okay? With the every 2 weeks rather than 1 week, we seem to have a rat problem all across the region, but particularly in Niagara Falls. Is that something that is going to have an impact on rodents within the municipality?
That's through the mayor to the councillor. So when we've talked to municipalities who've implemented every other week garbage, they have not seen an increase in rats. Rats are attracted to garbage and material that's not properly stored. And that's where you get the issue, is when they can sense the material's there and they can access it.
Have you done any research with respect to other regions who are responsible for waste pickup to determine what they do? Is there a lot of them that are doing this every 2 weeks? Or do you have any survey on that?
So through the mayor, I'll start and I'll let Brad talk to what municipalities have done if they've encountered a problem. So I can tell you that municipalities such as Toronto, the region of Halton, I cited Waterloo earlier in my presentation, Barrie, Ottawa, there's a number of municipalities larger than Niagara that implemented every other week, 5-6 years ago. Out west, Burnaby, other municipalities out west have implemented this. So it's shown to be a best practice to really increase diversion and to avoid cost increases, because when you collect garbage every other week, it's certainly a lot less than having a truck on the road every week going down the same street. So with respect to your question about rats and other municipalities, I'm going to hand it over to Brad.
Thank you. To your mayor and to the councilor. We contacted a number of the municipalities in doing our research with regards to the best practice of every other week. We spoke to Ottawa, Halton, Waterloo as well, who just implemented every other week garbage collection. They did not find they had any issues at all with by going to every other week garbage collection with issues with rats or any vermin at all.
Okay, well, you're not the health department, but I tell you, I worked with the health department for 28 years, and when we had a rodent problem, we used to go out with the inspectors and do an entire block and find out where they're eating, where they're getting their water, where their habitat, and we used to be able to clean up an area. Now, if you call a health department, they send you out a brochure. What? Why wouldn't they? And everybody I hear, Welland, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, have a problem with rodents. I think the health department could really step up and help out and do something about getting this under control, but that's not your problem.
So through the mayor, we can take that comment back to the public health department.
Okay, thank you. So what we're looking at tonight, has this been approved, or you're just looking for?
I think they're looking for information from councils. We're going to have a report come back to
Well,
our
that was my
council
question.
in 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're just trying to get some financial information from contractors, is that right, at this point?
Yeah, through the mayor. So the direction right now that we have from Public Works Committee is to include every other week in the RFP, pending comments back from the local area municipalities.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions of councillors? I have a couple of questions myself, actually. Is the contract part of the region's budget, or is it something that you then charge back the municipalities for? And the reason I ask is because if you're worried about escalating costs, I mean, it should be the municipalities that are complaining to you about the escalating costs as opposed to it hitting your budget, your bottom line.
So I'll start and then I'll let Brad's our numbers guy, so he puts the requisitions together. So to address your question, the waste management costs are determined by the region based on the collection contractor's cost to us, and it's apportioned out by household to the area municipalities. We also charge for disposal and planning and other diversion programs as well, and the requisition is sent to area municipalities for payment. And then municipalities basically take that cost and charge it by assessment to their local taxpayer.
And that's what I thought. So are you hearing from municipalities that that cost is too high, and that would be the reason why you're looking to, I guess, implement changes that would bring the cost down?
No, we haven't heard directly from municipalities, but obviously we try to implement programs with a balance of recognizing the implications on our budget and to the taxpayer, as well as moving to every other week. There's environmental benefits as well. So you're no longer disposing of organics and recyclables in a landfill. When you dispose of organics in a landfill, you create leachate and methane gas, which is greenhouse gas, and contributes to climate change. So there are other environmental reasons why would we want to make this move. Right now, the region's diversion rate is at 56%. It's pretty much stagnant at 56%. We continue to do promotion and education, but I believe if we don't make a policy change, we won't be able to move the dial on that.
Okay. And in terms of the cost, I know you had some numbers up there saying that other regions had benefited to the tune of $250,000 up to $2 million annually for their contract. Any idea what the total contract is for the region and what percentage decrease a change like this would result in? Like, would residents be looking at, let's say, a 10% reduction in their garbage levy, or would they be looking at a 50% reduction in the garbage levy?
So when we originally let the first RFP, we actually had an option in there for every other week garbage collection. The successful bidder bid weekly at a less cost, which is unusual to see, and that's why we continue with weekly collection. But when we go back to those price submissions, we saw a savings of about 1.2 million annually, and I believe so our current contract's around 20 million right now annually. I'm going to say the submission was around
5%.
maybe 14 to 16 million at the time,
Okay.
and that was 2009.
Okay. And the other question I have is in regards to the clear bags. You would be looking at implementing clear bags to see really who's following the rules of recycling and not placing organics in their garbage bags. And then what happens if people are?
Sorry?
Well, the reason behind the clear bags is so that you can see whether or not
Right.
people are placing things into their recycle or organic
So if they're
bins.
caught putting stuff in,
If they are not, then what happens at that point?
so the contractor would leave the material, tag the material and leave it behind.
And then what does the resident do?
The resident can then either take it to a landfill or keep it and put it out the following, like resort it and then put it out the following week.
Okay. Great. Any other questions from council members? Okay, if not, thank you very much to
Thank you.
both of you. We're going to have a report coming back from our staff to our council within 2 weeks' time, so we'll definitely make your deadline of February 1st. Councillor Campbell?
Just a quick question, who's paying for the plastic bags?
Through the mayor, the resident would, just like they pay for the black garbage bags.
Unusable black garbage bags, I just use a garbage can.
So then you would be responsible under a clear bag scenario buying the bags.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Another question? Might as well ask while they're here.
No, it's okay.
No? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much then. Moving on, our next presentation is from Marianne Tickey. Welcome. Marianne is our manager of municipal roadways, and she's going to be giving us an update on our winter maintenance policy plan. Welcome, Marianne.
Thank you. Mayor and members of council, thank you for the opportunity to come and give you an overview of our winter operations. We're going to go through our winter prep, the challenges that we face, and the technology that we use. Whoa, I didn't know that was on there.
Is that because it hasn't snowed?
That's not money, yeah.
Speak down and wake up.
Yes. So you can see on this slide here how the operations budget that I oversee is broken down, with 3.2 million going towards winter operations. So that's about 22% of that particular budget. So this is a breakdown of the lane kilometers, road lane kilometers, sidewalks, snow fence, fiberglass markers, and we do all this to meet the provincial maintenance standards that are set out. So in our winter preparation, we get together way ahead. So August, we're talking about winter, making sure that we have all our staff set up for training schedules, what our winter is going to look like, what machines we may need to rent, or contractors that we need to get online. Part of the winter preparation with roadworks, new subdivisions, any capital projects are underway. We go and review there because a lot of the manholes need to be ramped so we don't hit it with the snow plows. We take a look at which subdivisions have a base asphalt down so we know that we have to go in there and plow so the contractors and developers can get in to do their work. Snow fence is put up as a way to slow down your wind drifts that are coming through. I don't know if anybody who lives in an area where it just blows right across the road and builds up on the other side. So we put the snow fence up as a way to slow it down before it hits the road, and that way reducing the drifts that are on the roadways. Here's one of our mechanics who's repairing, this is a front-end loader, and right beside it is one of our graders. These are used to load in salt, clear cul-de-sacs, laneways. Our anti-icing, or our pro-melt that we put down, is a CalMag mixture. When you see those lines go down on the roadway, you know that winter is coming, so you know something's going to be happening. This helps us, it reduces the bond on the roadway, so it helps us able to scrape it up faster and not have to treat it after the fact once it's hit the ground. It adheres to the surface. The fiberglass markers, you see these will help people for our road plows in subdivisions it gives them an indication as where the curb line is. With the full height curb, we have curb feelers on the plows so they can abut against the full height curb. In the newer subdivisions, we have rollover curbs, they're called. And so the curb feelers can't hit it, so the snow markers help indicate where the edge of the lawn is, so we reduce the amount of plow damage. Unique to Niagara Falls is Niagara Falls, and because of that, we have a mist area, which freezes in a very short period of time once the mist is flowing in our direction. So we station vehicles down there 24/7 once we start our shift, which is about mid-November to mid-April, or could be sooner depending on how far the winter extends into the spring months. This map shows you how far it can actually go over. So you can see it can go as far as Dorchester Road and over almost to Ferry Street near Clark, and in that whole area in between and going over towards Marineland Parkway. This is an idea of your road classifications. Class 2s to Class 6 is what the city has. A Class 1 is a major highway. The winter operations is ongoing until the spring, and the spring again could be as far as the winter is going to extend to. Sometimes it's as early as March. Other times we're going way into April. The sidewalk plow is also ongoing until the winter concludes. That we have staff on 24/7 shift. New to this year is we introduced the 12-hour shift, or sorry, that should be last year. We introduced the 12-hour shift for the guys. It makes it a lot easier on them. So the weather portals that we look at, we try to get at least 3 out of the 5 that are saying the same thing. And once that happens, staff then can predict with fair certainty as to what the operation is going to be and when it's going to start. A winter hazard or significant event, this is new to the maintenance standards, is the road authority is liable not only for failing to treat an icy road, but for failing to take reasonable steps once you become aware of the potential of ice conditions on the roadway could be forming. So we have to look at that, not only that there's ice on the road through freezing rain or through low temperatures, but you also have to now predict it. With a lot of technology, with the forecasting that I showed you before, you should be able to predict that the probability of ice forming on that roadway is going to happen, and you have to treat it such. Icy roads and slush have to be treated with the same consistency as snow on the road. So when I showed you that table before about road classification, we have a timeline in which we have to treat those roadways. New to the maintenance standards this year as well is calling a significant event. If the event were to go on for multiple days or get to the point that the city cannot maintain the standards that's set out in the policy, we can call a significant event, which would mean we are going to go at it as best we can, but we will not be able to adhere to the standards. So it is going to take a little bit longer to clear that up, and that would be something that would be a multiple day event or a high volume of snowfalls falling in a short period of time. This is kind of like a quick way for you guys to see how we do it. So we're forecasting, we're patrolling. Once we get to the point that we know that the weather is coming, we're putting that anti-icing down so the lines are going down on the roadways. The storm starts, we're out on our main thoroughfares and main arteries. Once 8 centimeters occurred, now we're deploying full operations. After the whole city is plowed, we do a full sanding operation after that. And then once that has concluded, we continue to patrol our areas, our urban, rural, and residential areas. So the post-storm is basically our 24 to 48 follow-up, just to make sure that everything has been cleared, cleaned, anywhere that we have to do snow lifts. Critical to determine staff hours because when you're, for the Ministry of Transportation, you can work 14 hours on duty. You have to have an 8-hour break. You can only work 70 hours in 7 days. So you can imagine when, and I'll show you the next slide, you have 58 staff going out for one plow event, that you have to be critical in your hours. So when we have to stand staff down, and I think sometimes it might be difficult for the public to understand that they just can't keep going 24/7, 3 days in a row. They have to have that break. It's part of the Ministry of Transportation's mandate. So we prevent by anti-icing. We give public notifications, so you will see it on our website. If you call into the city's main line, you will get over to the winter notification. We keep it updated as to when we start the plowing operation. So if we're starting at 4 o'clock in the morning and you call in and it's 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock and you're going out and you're like, boy, they haven't come down my street yet, you can call into this number. You can look on our website to see when we start. Give us a good 8 to 10 hours, 8 hours minimum to get through the city. If your street has not been plowed in 8 hours, then give us a call, because we can typically get through in 8 to 10 hours on a regular snowstorm. Heavier snowfalls is going to take us a little bit longer, but we do adhere to our policy. Sidewalk winter operations fall in line with the same thing as the road plows. So if the sidewalk plows are being deployed a little bit after the road plows, just to give us a head start so we're not plowing back in the sidewalk. And we will keep going on our designated sidewalk routes until we achieve bare walk. Snow removal, like I said, that's after the event. We take a look at areas where bridge decks in front of the hospital, certain areas where you know that people have to park and get over, and you don't want them having to leap over a gigantic windrow in order to put money in the meter. So as I said, one operation can cost upwards of $50,000 and take up to 58 staff. Our communication, that's our hotline, email, website, social media. We try to get it out there as much as possible, and we try to keep you updated so that you know where we are and what we're doing. If we did call a significant event, if we were concluding our operation, all that notification is put on there to try to keep the public as updated as possible. New to this year as well is bicycle lanes. Now, a bicycle lane is not just the side of the road, it's a designated bicycle lane with markings or signage. So this will be interesting this year because some of these bicycle lanes are against the sidewalks, so there is no boulevard for storage, so it's going to be a little challenging. We're going to do this, will be our first year having to meet this standard, so I would suspect we're going to have more snow lifts this year than we typically would, just to meet the standard of keeping the bike lanes free and clear. There also have to be treated for anti-icing just as the road, so everything you see on the road is going to be treated on the sidewalk, or excuse me, in the bike lanes now. So your sidewalk maintenance, this nice shot of Queen Street. Same thing, 7 trackless units, 5 are in continuous use, 2 are spares. The routes are timed to be completed within 8 hours. An average route is approximately 35 kilometers. I put that in there because I do get requests continuously to add additional sidewalk onto route. We are timed. This is about the maximum that we can do in that right time frame to meet the minimum maintenance standards. If we were to add another section of sidewalk, something's got to come off. So I don't have enough equipment, manpower to meet and stay with the standard. And that's something that can be discussed at a later date as to how far we want to take that. Bill, can you close this, or?
Just click that restart later, yeah.
Okay. So the public expectation, perception with advancements in technology, the public expects that staff to accurately forecast a storm or ice event and respond accordingly. The expectation is with all the technology forecasting abilities, the public should not lose the ability to be mobile throughout the city. But the reality is that Mother Nature is an incredible power force that you may lose the ability to stay ahead of the event and may even request residents to remain off the roadway. So each event is different. So like I said, we do our best to keep everything open, and we do a pretty good job. Challenges we're going to meet is matching the deployment of resources to meet the public's expectation. We do have an aging population in Niagara Falls, urban expansion, more subdivisions, more areas, going more into the rural area and creating subdivisions out there is also challenging. We have to go a little farther. High volume pedestrian traffic, so our tourist core, quite a number of visitors, but we have to maintain it to a high level. Hours of work legislation, as I mentioned. Undersized sidewalks and plow damage because of undersized sidewalks and rollover curbs. When I say the undersized sidewalk, you can see from the sidewalk plow. So a sidewalk plow is 5 feet wide. When it's angled, it's 4 feet 2 inches. An average sidewalk in Niagara Falls is anywhere from 4 feet to 5 feet. So there's very little margin for error, and if you're on an undersized sidewalk, plow damage is inevitable. These are some challenges that we face: parked cars, businesses plowing onto the sidewalk. This is a shot of Bridge Street after we've already plowed it, and then the region wanted to widen the road, so they plowed it right back onto the sidewalk. This is a shot of Portage Road there underneath the Marriott, and this is it's basically a laneway. We don't maintain it, so we do have the ability to close these because it's not something that we can maintain over the winter months. On Queen Street, we have the parking stalls. So these are raised parking stalls, so I cannot, with the plow blade will ride along the edge. So these are cleaned by a contractor. Emergency access road, we have several of these in our subdivisions. These also have to be maintained the same as the roadway for emergency services. This is the inevitable effect of plow damage. You can see on Will Street, because of the hedge line, how the operator had to move over into the boulevard in order to clear the walkway. On Heritage, near the school, again, the sidewalk is only 4 feet wide, so this is inevitable, what's going to happen. With our capital projects, as we move down streets, they are being widened to the standard of 5 feet. Our trail maintenance, we have a number of walking paths. All our paved paths are cleared. And this is throughout the city. So the whole length of the Millennium Trail, Hollage Road, Olympic Trail just outside here, Warren Woods Trail, the Chippewa Fitness Pathway. These are all cleared by city staff. We clear these 72 hours. We do not incur overtime to clear our pathways. And a number of the other ones are left, like the NS&T, for winter events like cross-country skiing. Off-leash dog parks, now that we have 2, they do present a little bit of a challenge in the winter because we have to clear the parking lot. They have a double gate system so that you can bring your dog in, take them off leash, put them in, and clearing those is a little bit challenging. We have to have kind of shoveling, snow blowers, a little bit different equipment, and we don't put a lot of salt down. The sand has salt mixed into it to keep it malleable, and we try to use as little as possible because we don't want it getting in the dog's paws.
Councilor Ioannoni?
When did the second one open?
It's there. It's coming in the spring.
No official opening yet.
We had not, when did we officially open that? Can
It's-
it be used?
Well, there's nothing much there, so I don't know if you want to use it yet.
It's not fenced in, it's not.
It is fenced. It's got everything there. It's just in the springtime or in the summer. It wasn't open. There was no grass. You know, we had just planted the trees. It wasn't really.
I just want the fence up. My dog doesn't care what's underneath the snow.
Yeah, this time of the year, yeah, go ahead.
I think we're looking at a spring opening.
Okay, thanks.
I put this one in here because when we're not doing winter activities, we're fixing potholes. The top one is actually a pothole, the bottom one is not. It's just a pavement deficiency. The product that we use in the wintertime is a cold asphalt mix because we can't get the hot asphalt because the plant's closed. So I just put that in there just as there's other duties that we perform in the winter, picking up large item pickups because we get illegal dumping all over. You talked, Councillor Campbell had mentioned about large item pickups at their house. Well, sometimes a lot of these things just end up on some country roads. So we do have a lot of pickup. We do fence mending. We do pothole repairs during our non-winter activities. The system that we use down at the service center is called Cartograph. It's a maintenance management system, so when a resident calls in, or we do road patrols, it's all logged and goes through the maintenance management system. This way we can keep track of the number and types of calls that we get. We have GPS in all our vehicles, so all our vehicles are tracked. So when a winter operation is on the go, the guys are in the field, I'm in the office, and when I show you the next slide, you'll understand what I mean. So this is what it looks like at the beginning of the operation. So we have our little truck there ready to go, and as he's driving through the subdivisions, he's dropping little cookies, and this is typically what it looks like at the end. As a visual, I can see what streets have been plowed and if anything has been missed. So we try to capture it beforehand. Technology, we have a road patrol tablet that we use, and we go through and following the maintenance standards. We do winter representative routes in the wintertime when we're in the middle of at the beginning of a storm event. Non-storm event days, we're following the maintenance standards for road deficiencies. Dashboard cameras are actually being installed this week. We did a trial period, our report that went in November. So they are being installed, so we'll have 27 vehicles with dash cameras in there as well. It will help protect our drivers, help protect the city, and maybe keep them on their toes as well. Stats cameras, we have these in several locations throughout the city. They measure the road temperature. We get frequent emails that tell us when locations like Murray Hill, Royal Manor Bridge Deck, bottom of Drummond Road, locations are reaching zero, so we know that we have to treat them. The salt that we use is not a straight rock salt, it's a pre-treated rock salt. We get it from Cargill. What it allows us is to work at lower temperatures, so we can go up to -30, and this rock salt, or this salt will actually, this pre-treated salt will actually still be effective. We now have a way to pre-treat sidewalks where we didn't have that before. We were the first ones to use this, and now I have other area municipalities coming around and using it now because you do not have to pre-treat the rock salt with a liquid brine. It's already in there, and it saves a lot of time and money. In the spring, we take everything apart, we clean it, we check for deficiencies, we've identified repair, we remove the snow fence, we take back in all the salt boxes, hose everything down, and then we get ready for our spring operation. For a number of people, our residents who are unable to clear the windrow at the bottom of their driveway or their sidewalk, we do encourage people to volunteer, help out the elderly or people who are unable to get out because of, they're unable to plow because of health conditions or age. And Snow Biddies is a great way to do that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any councillors have any questions? Councillor Carrio.
Thank you, your acting mayor. How much of the narrow sidewalks do we have? Do we have a lot of the narrow sidewalk for the, under the 5 foot, what is it, 4 foot, 3 foot 6?
In kilometer-wise, we have about 1,600 kilometers of sidewalk. I actively treat 600 of those. Of the 600 that we treat, there is probably about 200, I would say, that's undersized.
Have we ever tried to modify any of our plows to fit the sidewalks rather than just do the standard plows and cut up the grass?
You need enough power behind it in order to push the snow. The base of the unit itself is 4 feet wide. That's why the blade is 5 foot. If it's undersized, all it's going to do is go back under the wheels and go right back onto the sidewalk. So if you have an undersized unit with a smaller blade, all it's do is going to go flow right back under and then be right behind you.
So we've tried that before? Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't work? Okay.
No.
Any other questions of Marianne? Marianne, I was going to ask the question about trails, but I saw it in your presentation, but I might have missed it in the actual plan. Is trails part of the actual winter maintenance plan?
Yeah, they are cleared, we have designated walking trails that we clear, and it's done
Right.
within 72 hours of the conclusion of the storm event. We don't incur overtime to clear the trails.
Right.
As wintertime, they're meant for winter activities, but we do recognize that people like to get out and walk. And we have disabled, we have, just people want to get out and walk their dog on the trails, so we make sure that we get them cleared, but we don't incur overtime for it, so that's why the 72-hour window.
Right. And I understand that. I didn't see it in the plan. So I don't know if it's in there.
Yeah.
No, I saw it in the presentation.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it in the plan. It's in the plan.
Oh, and the policy?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because that was going to be one of my questions, because I usually ask that every year, is whether or not the trails are going to be done. I just couldn't find it. Maybe I missed it.
This right here, when you were looking at this winter maintenance policy, and I can put it in, if you want, I
Okay.
can add that in. This is to adhere to road, this is all about the provincial maintenance standards. They don't address trails. So that's why this is all geared to the maintenance standards and how we as a municipality and what we're doing to adhere to the standards. Trails was not in there. I do have another policy that'll be coming forward as well to deal with restoration. So when you get those calls about restoration, we have a plan on how we're going to effectively attack it this year and hopefully reduce the number of complaints and get to repairs faster. But that'll be coming to either the 29th or the February meeting.
Okay.
So-
And the trails will be part of that plan?
I can put it in that one because this is more to do with the roads and sidewalks. Anything in the provincial standards, trails are not in the provincial standards.
Okay, that would be great. Okay. Any other questions from members of council? Okay, seeing none, I guess just the motion to accept the winter maintenance policy plan update. Motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Coco. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much,
Great.
Marianne.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. Before we begin our next item, I just wanted to say welcome to our Member of Provincial Parliament. Mr. Wayne Gates has joined us. Mr. Gates, you're more than welcome, and if there's any item that you would like to speak on, please just feel free to come up and address us. Don't know if you're looking for any samples, but our next item that we're going to be dealing with is the review of the Provincial Cannabis Licensing Act. So council does have a document that we received from staff, and we have a number of different speakers that are here tonight that are wishing to address council as well. We received a bunch of correspondence, and is this where the speaker list is? Okay, I will. So I'll have Mr. Hurlovich, I guess, introduce the report, and then I can go to speakers after that. Councillor Campbell?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Before we start, the conflict I had was on check number 421209.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Hurlovich, and then I can open up to the public after that.
Okay, excuse me, thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor, and Bill, you're going to bring that up? Okay. I'm going to give a brief, maybe it's longer than brief, presentation, but I think some of this information has been bandied about because the discussion of cannabis retail stores has been in the news a fair amount lately, but I think some of it is worth presenting just so that there's a factual basis for the presentations that you're going to hear from the public this evening. So the federal government introduced legislation to legalize cannabis, and that became effective last October. The aim of that act is to keep cannabis out of the hands of youth, to keep the profits out of the pockets of criminals, and to protect the health and safety of adults by providing access to legal cannabis. The Ontario government introduced its legislation in September of last year. Legislation provides for storefront sale of cannabis to privately operated retail outlets. Those are licensed by the province. Municipalities have been given until January the 22nd to opt out of having or hosting a retail cannabis store in their community. If municipalities opt out now, they can opt in later. Municipalities cannot opt out after the January 22nd date. And the legislation also provides a minimum separation distance between a retail cannabis store and a school of 150 meters. The cannabis use will be harmonized through the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. I believe that's already occurred. The private recreational cannabis retail stores throughout Ontario will open starting April the 1st of this year. Ontario Regulation 468-18 provides further clarity on how private businesses will be licensed and regulated. The city cannot issue licenses for retail cannabis stores. That will occur through the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, and the AGCO will provide a 15-day window for the public and for municipal government to submit comments on any proposed store site. Municipal comment should focus on whether or not the proposed storefront location is in the public interest. And public interest is defined, and that is it's in the public health or safety, it's protecting youth, and it's eliminating illegal market. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario recommends that consideration be given to creating a policy statement identifying specific and significant locally sensitive uses. This statement would provide direction to council in providing input. That is the input during that 15-day window. The staff has prepared a guideline. It is attached to the planning report, PDB 2018-76, and we are recommending that a key senior staff person be appointed as lead, and they would be able to coordinate this. There can be times when during the 15-day window we would not be able to get a report back to council, so we want to be able to delegate that to a senior staff person. The policy recommends the planning director be responsible for that. The draft municipal policy statement is attached, as I already stated. I mentioned the provincial legislation sets a distance separation of 150 meters between public schools, most private schools, and commercial areas. So this slide's a little difficult to read, but the school properties are highlighted with the little black symbol, and then there's a green circle around that. That's a 150-meter radius. So areas like the north end of Portage Road would be affected by A.N. Meyer School. A portion of Lundy's Lane, for instance, would be affected by West Lane. Similarly, Stamford Collegiate would affect the commercial areas around Drummond and Lundy's Lane. So again, those are areas where a retail cannabis store would not be allowed to locate. So the purpose of this map is to be available to the public. So when a store operator is looking for a space, he would be able to look at this map and determine that he needs to stay outside of those areas. Excuse me. The provincial legislation expressly prohibits the use of zoning to distinguish the use of land, building, or structures that would include cannabis sales. Provincial licensing maintains the requirement to comply with zoning bylaw and other municipal planning documents. The recreational cannabis retail storefronts must be standalone stores. Retail space where cannabis would be sold needs to be enclosed by walls, separating it from any other commercial establishment, and the space cannot be entered or accessed through another store, except in the case of a retail or a shopping mall, so whether you could enter that store through the common mall corridor. The Cannabis Act will be enforced by the AGCO, and the storefront store concentration will be determined by the market. The province will limit 75 stores per operator, and the store operations would be allowed to open between 9 and 11 p.m. on any day, 9 a.m. and 11 p.m. Municipal governments would have a one-time opportunity to opt out. That's January 22nd. The province has just released its funding approach. The city has been notified that it will receive its first payment of a little over $48,000 sometime this month, and will receive a second payment of $5,000 after the January 22nd deadline. Municipalities that have opted out will only receive a second payment of $5,000. The Smoke-Free Act that the province adopted will allow the prohibition of smoking and vaping of cannabis in any location where tobacco products are prohibited. It now also includes the ability to regulate condominium common areas, apartment and university college residences, 20 meters around playground equipment, 20 meters around a sports field, restaurant and bar, I should say patios, a distance of 9 meters, so no cannabis on a bar patio, and 9 meters away from that bar patio. Would also be allowed to be prohibited at hospital and health facility grounds and the grounds of child care facilities. There are a few others, but those are the main ones. The regional bylaw is in place for smoke-free outdoor spaces to which the prohibited use of cannabis would also apply and be enforced. The region is in the process of updating its bylaw. They're also going to be coordinating a public consultation regarding adding public spaces where tobacco and cannabis can be smoked or vaped. And those would be the spaces that I just outlined in the Ontario smoke-free legislation. The city's bylaw is currently written in such a way that it prohibits the smoking of any product, so that would be cannabis or tobacco in certain spaces. It doesn't prohibit actually vaping, so we would need to update our bylaw as well. The city could expand its area of prohibition, such as municipal sidewalks and roadways. I would suggest that that would be done in consultation with the region, so that the region doesn't have one bylaw that's different from the city's bylaw, or the city's bylaw isn't different from Niagara on the Lake, and so on. Become a difficult enforcement issue. The provincial license lottery results were released on last Friday. There were 7 licenses awarded to Western Region, which includes Niagara. Proponents have until 5 p.m. on January the 18th, that's this Friday, to submit their $6,000 non-refundable fee and a $5,000 letter of credit to meet the application requirements. There are 20 applicants on the AGCO website who have been waitlisted for the Western Region. The city conducted an online survey. This was part of what council asked staff to do last December, and so we did conduct an online survey. The point that these statistics were put together, we had 411 respondents from Niagara Falls. The respondents were between 26 and 55 years old. The highlights are 65% of the respondents were in favor of allowing cannabis stores in the city. 8% expressed conditional support. 22% of the respondents did not support cannabis retail stores. And only 2% felt that the city should opt out now. 34% do not want smoking of cannabis in any public space. 38% supported similar smoking regulations as tobacco products, and 11% felt there should be additional limitations on the smoking of cannabis beyond those that we apply to tobacco use. 14% of the residents would like smoking restrictions to mirror alcohol use. As well, in reviewing some of this material, as I said, the province removed the traditional method of regulating land use, that would be zoning, regarding retail sales and recreational use. We believe that the use of zoning to restrict cannabis sale outside of neighborhood commercial areas would remove this from most residential areas. The ability to set a distance separation between stores would reduce concentrations of cannabis stores, and the use of licensing locally could be used to restrict sales hours. While you might be able to operate 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., we would like to suggest that maybe it be limited. And our reasons for that is that public health has in the past found that a concentration of stores and extended hours are recorded as providing increased access to controlled products such as alcohol and tobacco. It's believed that there would be a same pattern for cannabis purchases and use. Therefore, the city would like to seek additional regulatory controls from the province. The recommendations then of staff, and there are 4 recommendations from the 2 reports that are before you tonight. So that council determine whether or not they wish to stay in or opt out of the provincial cannabis retail store program. that council does not, if council does not opt out, that they adopt the municipal policy statement on cannabis for the purpose of reviewing and commenting on license applications. That council harmonize its anti-smoking bylaw with amendments to the regional anti-smoking bylaw, and work with the region in consultation regarding the additional public spaces where tobacco, cannabis, and related products can be smoked or consumed, vaped in other words. The city council send a resolution to the province requesting that municipalities in Ontario be given greater regulatory controls over the location, distance separations, and number of retail cannabis stores within a municipality. Those are the highlights of the planning reports before you tonight.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Hurlovich? Councilor Carrio.
Thank you. Alex, I don't know if you want to comment on this or not, but this is, the way that the province has gone about doing this and not giving the city any ability at all to regulate is odd, to say the least. Could you comment at all, or would you wonder why would they do this and not give the cities? I mean, maybe if a representative from the province is going to get up and comment, maybe he may know, maybe he sat through all this, may know why the province has set it up this way without giving the city any authority, almost no authority whatsoever, to regulate this industry, which is unusual. Anything we do, whether it's industry or anything else, or our tourism sector, all controlled. This comes out, the city has almost no say. Would you hazard a guess as to why this was done this way, and opt in or opt out? It's just kind of bizarre that we don't have any say in this at all.
Yeah, I'm afraid any of the materials I looked at, Mr. Acting Mayor, I didn't see anything that explained the rationale.
I didn't think so either. I thought maybe I was missing something. Anyway, the other thing is just in the report, there's the report we have, there's some other things in it. You know, where, Alex, just a quick clarification. The report seems to suggest a bit that the fact that the province is having a lottery for, and lottery is a great word, by the way, it's like winning a lottery, for 25 licenses is going to be something that addresses our concerns about how many outlets there might be. But the fact is that the lottery, the only reason the lottery was done was because that the supply and demand.
Yes.
But your report mentions that a couple times, that the fact that there's been a lottery is going to maybe restrict the amount of licenses that are out there. But we should say temporarily, because the idea is the only reason that they're restricting it, I think, is because they can't meet the supply today. So is that your understanding as well?
Mr. Mayor, I would agree with the councillor that it is a temporary measure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Hurlovich? Councilor Strange.
Acting Mayor, just back again, they said the one operator is allowed to open 75 outlets? So if one of those 7 wanted to open 75 stores, is that what?
It's a different operation, license. It's like a
master license.
Alex.
No, it was.
Yeah. So yes, Mr. Acting Mayor, so the
bottom?
Conventional limit of 75 stores per operator.
Yeah, so it won't be immediately. Again, it's back to Councillor Carrio's point. So at some point, the supply of regulated cannabis will be such that it will be, the production will be able to supply all of the operators, but they will have to be licensed per store. So if I received a license as an operator, and then I would have to be licensed for each of those 75 stores. And that would be throughout Ontario. So I could have a store in Kenora, I could have a store in North Bay, a store in Ottawa, a store in Niagara Falls, a store in Kingston. It doesn't necessarily mean they would have 75 stores in Niagara Falls. But if we had 75 operators and each one had a store, I suppose ultimately we could have 75 stores in the city.
Councilor Carrio.
But it doesn't mean that they couldn't open 75 stores. Being as bizarre as this bylaw is now, they could have 70, each operator or each one of these licensees, they could have 75 stores in Niagara Falls.
Yes, I was speaking with Councillor Lococo earlier this week, and there were seven applicants who were awarded licenses in the Western region. In theory, those seven applicants could all choose to open in Niagara Falls. They were awarded by the person or business, and they weren't necessarily said, well, this one's for Niagara Falls, and this one's for Guelph, and this one's for Windsor. Here are the seven who are selected for licenses.
Councillor Lococo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, a question, Alex. For the lead, the staff lead for 15 days, once they put the placard in the store, I'm wondering what the thought process on that is. Should it come to council? I know it's 15 days, being that this is a very time-sensitive thing and we are trying to control it. I'm wondering if it should come to council and not go through a staff. Just wondering the thought process on that.
To you again, Mr. Acting Mayor, it would be staff's preference that it come back to council, and that council basically send its comments to the province. But one of the things that we outlined then in the guidelines is that staff would be looking to comment in specific ways, and so these guidelines that we've attached to the planning report would be council's guidelines, and we'd basically be following through on them. So for instance, we suggested, in addition to the 150 meter separation from a school site, that there be, say, 150 meter separation from a trailhead. So right out here at the beginning of the Olympic Park Trail, or Olympic Torch Trail rather, that would be the trailhead. There's a little kiddie playground there. We would want to make sure that we would say that we don't want a retail store within 150 meters of that, even though there's no school. So that's our recommendation. We feel that if the intent of the legislation is to protect youth, then we want to make sure that our trails are recognized appropriately. Or we would say not within 150 meters of a community center or an arena. So those are what we felt would be municipal standards, not with 150 meters of a library. Those are all publicly controlled facilities that we felt we have a responsibility for protecting the public. So if we couldn't get a report back to council, for council to make a decision, we would want to be able to submit those comments directly so that we didn't miss the commenting period. So it would be a staff delegation only if there's insufficient time to get a report to council. And as you know, with our agendas now filed electronically, we could add a report. Let's say I received notice yesterday that there would be a retail application. We could have done a report for today's agenda, had it as an add-on. Council could debate it tonight and send it. We would be within those 15 days. So as opposed to our typical planning report where it's prepared 2 or 3 weeks ahead of the actual council meeting, this would be something that would be done almost instantaneously brought to council. But we may not always have the chance. There are some months we meet only once a month.
Okay, Mr. Todd.
Acting Mayor, if I could just add something to Alex's comments to the councillor. The other part of that is that typically they're getting dozens of people coming to the counter at planning, inquiring about locations and stuff. If we had, and what we're asking council tonight is if you approve that policy document, at least we can hand that out to individuals that are looking to locate a store here and have them understand what our thinking is in terms of where they should locate. So they would have it set out in an approved council policy, even though the province may not, at the end of the day, adhere to that policy or do their own thing. At least we've let those applicants know that we don't want it near a daycare, near a school, near a senior center. We want it in these specific commercial areas so that when they're out looking for opportunities for retail vacant retail outlets or to build a new store, that they're going to want to follow those guidelines that we've set out. So it's kind of a two-piece. It's not only council's part, but getting that policy document approved, I think would help those wanting to locate here where we feel they should locate.
Councilor Carrier.
Just a quick follow-up to the councilor's question. Are you comfortable with 150 meters around the school? Do we have any say in that, or is that it? We couldn't make that 350 meters, or that's all we could do is 150, or could we make a little bit more?
Mr. Acting Mayor, yeah, 150 meters is the legislative requirement in Ontario regulations.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
we'd have to adhere to that.
Councilor Campbell.
Yeah, just to put that into perspective, 150 meters is a football field and a half. So if you think of the A.N. Meyer football field and extend it another halfway, it's a long distance, from my perspective, just for what it's worth.
Okay.
When you were younger, you could jog that in 5 minutes.
I could.
That's better than me.
Any other questions before I open it up to the public? Okay, we have a number of speakers that are here tonight, and I guess I would simply ask that each speaker just state their name and their address and then adhere to our 5-minute limit. And I would also ask that people try not to repeat the same argument. The first person I have is Mr. Warner.
Yeah.
Is he here? Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's the Mr. Warner?
Do you have control? Far right. No.
Wrong one, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, City Council and fellow citizens of Niagara Falls. We'd like to begin by wishing everyone a Happy New Year and would like to thank you for giving us the chance to speak this evening. We appreciate the feedback we have received from the councilors that we did speak to via emails, phone calls, and meetings. We'll try to keep this as brief as possible, as we know there's a lot on the agenda tonight. This is Stephen Kellerman. This is Kevin Kelly. I'm Nathan Warner. We're all lifelong residents of Niagara, and we recently incorporated a business partnership called Niagara Cannabis Company. Our intention is to open a premium cannabis store in Niagara Falls. We come here today to highlight the benefits of opting in to brick-and-mortar cannabis retail for Niagara Falls. We realize that with such a new industry, there are certain concerns within the community and certain negative stigmas that may be hard for some to overcome. The prohibition debate has already been settled, and we're not here to discuss the merits of legalization. We're here to shed some light on what's next with legalization and discuss what the cannabis industry can look like in this city, keeping public safety and the interest of the citizens and visitors of Niagara Falls a priority. Cannabis is here, has always been here, and is here to stay. It is now just a matter of embracing the benefits of the industry while eliminating the illegal black market. At the last City Council meeting, Mr. Thompson addressed concerns shared by stakeholders in the tourism sector of the city, i.e. the number of cannabis stores, keeping locations away from the tourist district, also preserving Niagara Falls' reputation as a family-oriented destination. With the recent decision of the provincial government to cap the number of licensed retail stores across the province to 25 due to the lack of cannabis supply, we don't believe cannabis stores will be popping up on every street corner anytime soon. In fact, in the initial lottery, there were only 7 licenses issued from Windsor, east to Hamilton, and down to Niagara. These first 7 stores are scheduled to be open and fully operational on April 1st of this year. The 7 names have been drawn, and within an area so vast, Niagara Falls will be fortunate to get 1 license at this stage. Additionally, with legalization of cannabis in Canada, there will be some tourists coming to stay in Niagara Falls with the expectation that cannabis will be part of the landscape here, similar to the way wineries and craft breweries already operate. Cannabis tourism is already a billion-dollar industry, and Niagara Falls deserves a seat at the table. Next, we'd like to discuss what we believe is the most important topic, public safety. It's no secret that the black market continues to thrive here in Niagara. In fact, if one wanted to order cannabis illegally right now, all one would need to do is go on their phone, download an app, place your order, and it can be delivered to your door within an hour. This activity brings undesirable criminal elements into our neighborhoods and the tourist district of the city. It's safe to say that neither the city, province, or federal government wants this to continue. This can change when Niagara Falls opts in. Opting in to legally selling cannabis via a controlled retail store environment has not only been proven to help lower crime and eliminate black market activity, but is also a much safer avenue for people to purchase their product. All legal cannabis products are government tested for quality control. The consumer is buying their product from a trusted source, and the black market has no standard to abide by. Lastly, we'd like to highlight the financial benefits to Niagara Falls. Revenue generated in Canada in the first 2 weeks of legalization was approximately $43 million, as per the news article published in the CBC December 21st, 2018, and is estimated to be in the billions annually. This is a burgeoning industry which will offer well-paying, stable jobs for residents of Niagara. So as you can see, there's definitely a major source of revenue to bring to the city. Opting out will only shift the revenue to other municipalities who have realized all the positive benefits of this industry and have made the decision to opt in. In closing, with the licensed lottery scenario that the provincial government has put in place, along with the strict guidelines that the AGCO has put forth and will be enforcing in regards to obtaining a license, i.e. safe, secure, well-monitored, and supervised retail stores with trained professionals keeping honesty, integrity, and public safety at the forefront of the operation, we believe that the City of Niagara Falls has nothing to lose and everything to gain by opting in. As this industry continues to evolve, hopefully we can one day have a few classy, thriving stores within the city. I'm sure you will all agree that Niagara Falls is one of the most unique cities in the world. If any city in Ontario should have a legal cannabis store, it most definitely should be us. The haste of the decision to opt in only drives business and revenue to other cities participating and fuels the strength of the black market in Niagara. Let's opt in today. Thank you once again for your time. We'd be more than happy to continue this conversation with anyone who cares to discuss any more issues or concerns. I hope everybody has a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions or comments? Councilor Carrier.
Well, the only question, I'm not against having cannabis stores.
Correct.
I'm really not. I'm against us not having any control.
Right.
And that's my only point, and I think that's a lot of people's points.
Mhm.
What would be the downside of opting out until the province gave us the ability to control it? We can opt in on the 23rd.
Right.
Or the 24th.
Right, correct.
We can opt in anytime.
I think
We can only opt out once.
Right, I think what that might deter is any of these 7 licenses setting up one of the initial stores here. I think that's a head start. Will bring a lot of money if one of these licenses decided to come here. I think you'll miss that initial boat is maybe, and you might not ever get the power that you guys are seeking to decide where these go and who gets them.
I think so, except that I think that if we opted out, the day that we opted in, we'd still have lineups with people wanting to put stores in Niagara Falls. I mean, we have something unique.
Correct.
We have something that
But the
everybody
AGCO is
that
not
grows a
is-
plant
exactly.
wants to be in.
Right.
So if we opted out, the day we opted in, you'd be back, everybody'd be back. We'd have everybody back lined up still to go around the block, and we'd at least have had the opportunity to see what the effects were.
Yeah.
And what
The only other negative
problems
to that-
were in the other municipalities. So we're not saying if we opted out, we'd stay out.
Right.
We just say, the government has given the city of Niagara Falls one option of limiting cannabis outlets. It'd be by opting out to see what happens. If more municipalities had opted out, then we'd have had the power to put the squeeze on the provincial government to say, give the municipalities what they're asking for. But the fact that half of them have caved in for the money
Right.
is giving us no power with the province whatsoever to get what we want to help regulate, at least protect some of the people who think they're gonna be hurt.
Right.
So that's my only issue. It's not to keep, to keep the stores out. I'm not a prude. I'm having.
Valid
against
concern.
people. It's just a valid point. You made the point about opting in, but I don't think opting out would be forever. It would be
No.
just to see what happens and where to go.
Well, the only thing is we don't know when these next licenses will be issued. So that could happen a year from now, it could happen 6 months from now. The way these people are making decisions, it could happen next month, but it could be 2 years. So we just might miss a very good opportunity to have a couple stores here in the meantime.
And Niagara Falls being a tourist destination, it's part of the landscape like wineries and breweries.
Yeah.
In that regard, people come here with the expectation that this is part of the landscape, just so you can go pick up a beer at Niagara, the Thread Craft Brewery on Clifton Hill.
I understand, but there's no doubt in my mind that the minute Niagara Falls opts in, it'll be the cannabis capital of Canada. No, there's no other way to look at it. That's why
No.
they're here.
Councillor Ioannoni.
I think Toronto's gonna be your cannabis capital. I do not think
It
it's gonna
already
be
is.
us.
It's
It's
just.
Vancouver, actually.
Vancouver. Okay, but there's a flip side to that too, because I think we should be opting in. I think the flip side of that is you only have 7 approved licenses from Windsor to Niagara. All 7 are not coming here.
Yeah.
Like that's.
We'd
let's
be lucky to get one, is that?
Yeah, let's be realistic there. So if we get one, let's just, lucky enough to even get one, then we can gauge whether it's problematic or it's not. Because at the end of the day, just like booze and cigarettes, it's legal now.
Right.
And this connotation that the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket because pot's legal is not going to happen. I don't think it's going to affect Niagara Falls' pull to families or anything, because it doesn't matter where you go now. For the most part, it's going to be legal. New York State's looking to legalize it now because we have. So to me, doesn't matter where you choose to go, you're going to be able to go to a storefront and buy pot.
Right.
So we have to accept the fact that it is legal
And
now.
if the storefront's not here, well, you're going to turn to other places.
Well, and I had that conversation with the counselor today when I said, if somebody sets up shop in Welland and they're coming here to visit Niagara, they're going to drive to Welland, get their pot, and come back and stay in Niagara. And the comment was, we cannot stand the smoke. And I hear that everywhere. We can't stand the smoke. Well, you buy it in edibles too.
Right.
Like, it will not just be people standing on the street smoking pot. And I don't drink, and if you're smart enough not to understand you can't drink and drive, you can't miss this whole marketing that you shouldn't be eating or smoking pot and driving also.
Right.
I mean, it's everywhere. I think I mean, when we looked at it the first time, we looked at it as a good economic opportunity. I think it's still a good economic opportunity. It's here, it's not going away. I mean, I think 2 generations from now are going to look back and say, why do they even have a problem with it?
Totally.
This is kind of like alcohol and prohibition. And I've been in the States in a dry county, and I thought it was laughable
Fun time,
that
right?
you can drive on the other side of a road, buy booze, and bring it back. You just can't buy it in that community.
Right.
Like, it was ridiculous.
In this instance, you can just get on your phone and get it delivered. We can get it delivered here.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's going to be a missed opportunity for us if we don't. And if there's problems, then we know through the next round that we don't want 6 or 7 or 8, because that's the fear of tourism. I don't believe that's going to happen. But if there is problems, it also gives us leverage to go back to Premier. What's his name? Premier Ford. What's his name? Premier Ford, and say, hey, this has become problematic. If we have 6 or 7 on a street, it's going to hurt our tourism, and it's going to hurt dollars that go back to the province also. So I think this is an opportunity that we need to take. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. I do not believe that the city's opted in just to get the cash from the province. I think they're opting in because it's good. It's a good economic choice. So.
Totally.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just to follow up on that comment, part of the recommendation that staff is asking for is we give them the ability to put things into place so that we can deal with the new operations that are happening in our community. If we opt out, staff's not going to do anything. And if we got to opt back in at some time in the future, we're going to have to do all that stuff anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at, just from a practical perspective, that staff has indicated that they're prepared to work with opting in, and it's going to be something that has to happen one way or the other.
Other comments? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Is that tonight? Well, just a quick comment on Councillor Campbell's comment. If we opt out, it doesn't mean we can't address the smoking part of it. In the bylaw, the regional bylaw, our smoking bylaw, whether we opt in or out, that's a separate issue. On whether they smoke on our streets or near our parks or whatever, we can still deal with that, whether we opt in or whether we opt out. And if there's problems, Councillor Ioannoni's comment, if there's problem, you're in. You're not getting out. They've already said if you're in, you're in. The only chance we have is if we opt out to address the problems before we opt in. Once we're in, you have no say. It doesn't look like this government is prepared to give us any say, or they would have. The way they've done it is they've set it up so that we have no say, and there could be stores anywhere, everywhere, we have no say.
To that point, Counselor?
I remember, I wasn't on council when the first casino came here, but when the first casino came, the sky was falling. We were going to be the worst crime town in Ontario. Everybody was going to become addicts, gambling addicts. It was going to be awful. It has been a financial boom for this city. So,
The one casino?
while I understand what you're saying,
She was against it at the time.
can I just say, I wasn't on council. I wasn't on council at the time, so his memory's a little bad. But the fact that if I'm staying in a hotel, I can dial up and have it delivered to me, I think is more problematic than if I go to a store that's regulated and legitimate and policed. I would much rather have people purchasing it that way than ordering it from Bubba in a backyard and having it delivered via Uber. I just think it's a safer way to do it. And if Bubba has a backyard here in Niagara Falls, he's dealing, I did not know that.
Counselor Strange?
Yes, through you, Acting Mayor. To Nathan, I think you're, you know a little bit about the weed and the ingredients and like what are you allowed to actually sell in these stores? So is it just marijuana? Can you sell gummies or can you sell
At this point,
edibles or just CBD oil?
oils, I believe you can.
It's limited to flour for the most part. CBD oils. Right
You
now,
can sell
edibles
CBD oils,
are
yeah.
slated and concentrates are slated to come next October. So there's like a 6-month period where they're rolling in just your standard products and then the edible stuff. Because I think they got to work out the packaging and the safety.
So right
Because it's
now
for with children. It's a big.
cannabis and cannabis or
I would say yeah.
Cannabis oil or
Yeah,
CBD
pre-rolled
oil?
joints and
Yeah.
whatnot, right?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, what are gummies? Just kidding. Counselor Campbell?
Yes, for what it's worth, Your Worship, someone that was in the audience tonight just walked out of City Hall and sent me a text message, and it says literally, as I walked out of City Hall, 2 guys smoking marijuana across the street.
Yay.
It's legal.
All right.
It's legal.
It's legal.
And
It's
we
shocking, but it's legal.
We
Right.
need to be prepared for it.
Okay, we do have a long list of presenters, so is
Thanks
there any
again.
other
Thank you very
questions? Any other questions for Niagara Cannabis Company? If not, thank you, gentlemen, for coming. The next speaker I have is Hugo Cheshire from the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Mr. Cheshire.
Thank you.
Right. Good evening, Acting Mayor, councillors, staff, members of the public. It's a pleasure to be here again. My name is Hugo Cheshire. I'm the Government Relations Director at the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce, and with me tonight is our President and CEO, Mishka Bolson. Thanks very much for having me here on behalf of our members to address you on this topic. So first of all, this is not a decision about whether or not cannabis is going to be bought and sold in the community. That is going to happen regardless. That has been happening for decades. The question is, who is going to do the sales? Now, up until now, it has been criminals who don't check ID, who sell to minors, who sell a product that we have no idea what is in, and they funnel the profits back into other criminal proceeds like guns and human trafficking. Or we can give this to legitimate businesses who will check IDs and not sell to minors, who will pay their taxes, who will employ people who pay their taxes, who will sell a clean product that has been vetted and inspected at all stages. This is Niagara Falls' opportunity to get in on the ground floor of what's going to be a booming industry, but we do have to act sooner rather than later. If we wait, as has been said, we miss out on the chance. We let other people, other communities around us, eat our lunch and come in quickly. Now, Councillor Matt Cisco in St. Catharines said this could be Niagara's next wine industry, and I think he's right. It really could. This is a booming industry. Just the forecasts alone say that from Policy Options is one example, cannabis sales in Ontario are going to be $930 million this year. $1.6 billion in 2020, $2.4 billion in 2021. A mature market after a few years could be worth $3 billion with $600 million in tax revenues. Parliamentary Budget Office estimates that Canadians will spend between $4.2 and $6.2 billion in legal cannabis products this year. This is going to be a huge market, and we have an opportunity here to get in and to start. Concern we've repeatedly heard is about siting and licensing at the municipal level, and for the record, from the beginning, the GNCC has advocated that municipalities should have the power to decide where these are sited and to issue licenses. It has been suggested by staff that you should petition the Government of Ontario for that power, as St. Catharines did last night, and we would support that. We have supported that from the beginning. We feel that that is important. Niagara is already home to 2 of the 3 largest cannabis cultivation facilities in Canada. This is a real opportunity to send a signal to this emerging industry that we're open for business here and that we're supporting what they're doing, the creation of jobs and the creation of wealth that they are bringing to our community. It's also a potential huge boon for the tourist industry. We know how big tourism is in Niagara Falls. It could be even bigger. This is one more thing that we can offer to people who come here. Furthermore, the provincial government is making 2 tranches of $15 million available to be distributed according to population to municipalities. Those municipalities who opt in now receive funding from both. Those who wait until later or don't opt in at all will only receive funding from one. So there is not only a competitive penalty to not opting in straight away, there is also a financial penalty to the city as well. So for these reasons, we urge you to opt into the retail cannabis program to support our growing cannabis industry here in Niagara and send a message that Niagara Falls is innovative, progressive, and open for business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Cheshire?
I could, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Our next speaker that we have tonight is Charlie Berlin. Welcome, Mr. Berlin.
Good evening, City Council, City staff, and the general public who are here tonight. My name is Charlie Berland, and I am here tonight representing our family's tourist interests on Clifton Hill. They include Beefeater Niagara Limited and Niagara Clifton Motor Inn Limited at 4943 and 4945 Cannabis Hill, formerly Clifton Hill. And I'm not joking. We'll get to that in a minute. While I am not against cannabis stores in the tourist core, I am concerned about 25 in a row on Victoria Avenue with tattoo parlors and head shops in between. Properly done, these stores could add to the destination. Not done properly, could negatively impact the destination. The issue is, and I believe we are all on the same page, is the province has not currently given any control to the city. But the main reason I am here tonight is this past New Year's Eve, we had a smell of what's to come this summer. If we don't implement bylaws and enforcement, this past New Year's Eve was a sample of what's to come. There was so much cannabis being smoked in the tourist core and on Clifton Hill, you could barely see across the street. The secondhand smoke was so bad, many of my employees were scared to drive home. They felt that if they were pulled over in a ride check, they would fail. I believe one solution might be to follow other municipalities like Markham, banning cigarettes, vaping, and cannabis on all city property, including sidewalks. Enforcement could be done on a complaint basis, and private security could be deputized to ticket, as a city currently does now with parking enforcement, to save dollars. Unlike other neighboring municipalities, Niagara Falls' main industry is tourism, family tourism. So we have a whole different component to deal with than our neighboring municipalities like St. Catharines and Welland. The draft report PBD 2019-3 is excellent, and I highly recommend that it, or a revised report, goes to the province and is copied to the Ontario Minister of Tourism. I suggest a copy to the Minister of Tourism, as he was in Niagara Falls last week, and I had the opportunity to spend an hour with him over breakfast. He completely understands tourism, and we talked about cannabis at length. He realized it's a family destination, and he understands it. With relation earlier to, I guess, Alderman Carrio about why are they only doing 25 stores right now in Ontario? My understanding is because in British Columbia, they opened it up to all the stores at once, and the stores are now suing the province of British Columbia because they are losing money because of supply. That's the reason behind it. Anyways, that's what I've got tonight. Thank you very much.
Questions of Mr. Berlin? I know I have Councillor Ioannoni.
Through you to Charlie. Charlie, you said you wanted to see us, well, how did you put it, banning smoking of cigarettes and cannabis on city streets? What was that?
Well, currently, I understand there are areas of the city of Niagara Falls where you guys do not allow smoking. In the, say, the Gale Center, you can't smoke in the Gale Center.
Trails and parks.
Trails and parks.
Right. I'm suggesting that that be extended like the city of Markham did. The city of Markham banned smoking of cannabis on all city property, all sidewalks, and they did that before Christmas.
So just cannabis, not, because I thought you said cigarettes.
I
too.
said, well, I'm saying cigarettes, cannabis, and vaping, only because I have spoken with the region and the associate doctor of health, and as I think most of us are aware, they are going to be working with the municipalities in Niagara, and they have to realign all the smoking rules and laws now because of this.
Okay, so not a smoker. But don't you think if you've got Americans coming here because our dollar sucks and their dollar's so good right now, coming here and they can't smoke in their hotel room and they can't smoke on a city street, where can they smoke when they come to Niagara Falls? Because I'm thinking that's going to be more prohibitive for you than us banning cannabis on a street.
I know, that's the problem. My problem right now is my employees are inhaling so much secondhand smoke. I'm going to have the Ministry of Labor in my businesses probably within months.
But they can't smoke in your hotels.
It's up to the property owner.
So do you let them smoke in your hotel?
No.
Okay, so they can't smoke in your hotel. Can they smoke in the parking lot?
No.
So they can't smoke in your hotel, they can't smoke in the parking lot, and they can't smoke on the streets that they're going to be walking and spending their money on. Why would you come here if you're a smoker? You can't smoke anywhere.
And the casinos, you can't smoke.
Well,
I'm just saying, I understand your concern over the cannabis, but you're making that, and I hate the smell of cigarette smoke. I'm asthmatic, it kills, I get it. But if we're talking tourism dollars and you're worried about affecting bringing tourism here, you've pretty much put a ban on something a large majority of people still do.
I'm looking at probably a 93% of the tourism market to Niagara Falls. I'm not looking at the new 3% marijuana market. I'm concerned about the 97% that we have now. Yeah, there are no easy answers to this. I don't know what the answers are, but we need to keep Niagara Falls as a family destination. We can't have families walking up and down Clifton Hill with young kids when every seventh person, or as in the case of New Year's, basically everybody smoking cannabis. I mean, that's what happened New Year's Eve. That's fact. So it was a big problem New Year's Eve.
Okay, questions of Mr. Berlin? I have Councillor Carrio, Councillor Campbell.
Just a quick comment. We happen to have one of the most successful casinos in North America, and it's also one of the only non-smoking casinos in North America.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Campbell.
Just a comment, Mr. Berlin, I wasn't there this past New Year's Eve. I was there the New Year's Eve before. Same thing happened.
You're absolutely, through the mayor, you're absolutely correct, although this year was 100 times worse because it's legal now. But last year, they go behind a tree and,
Smoking on the hill.
yeah, well, I mean, anyways, I'm in tourism and just trying to maintain tourism, that's all.
Okay, I have Mr. Todd that wants to weigh in, and then I have a couple more councillors.
Perhaps I can just shed a little light on the smoking issue. About a week ago, most of the CAOs from across the region, some of the planning directors, and Dr. Feller from the region, she's the Associate Medical Officer of Health, we met to discuss the whole smoking issue. And what we felt, and it's in your report tonight, was the first step would be to get the regional bylaw, and this went to the regional public health committee last week, is to get our bylaw amended so that at least in the interim, smoking of cannabis would be paralleling smoking of tobacco and vaping. And that, right now, our bylaw, and in fact Niagara Falls' bylaw with regard to smoking, is probably one of the most restrictive in the province. That would at least give us a chance to say wherever you can smoke cannabis, you could smoke smoking tobacco, smoking cannabis, or vaping, which would give it a higher standard currently than what the provincial standard is. In the interim, we would work with the region to go out across the region to get public feedback to determine whether or not the region as a whole should take a step like Markham has done, and Markham's bylaw was passed late last year to prohibit it from public sidewalks and public roadways. And if that was the feeling from the public input, we would bring that back to our respective councils and we could debate that issue separately. We felt that that was an issue we should take back out to the public, but tonight what's in front of you, at least we look at amending the bylaw so that it has the same restrictions. I'll give you a small example. Under the provincial standard, you could go and smoke cannabis in a park within 30 meters of a playground, 20 meters of a playground. Our bylaw right now says, if we amended it, would say you can't smoke that anywhere in that playground. So it puts a higher standard. It does not address Mr. Berlin's concern about roadways and sidewalks, but that could come at a later date. And we sort of committed to about a 6-month time frame to get back. But we felt that we should take that interim step of putting the higher standard, at least to make it parallel with where you can smoke cigarettes now. And that's what our recommendation here tonight is.
Okay, thanks. I have Councillor Strange.
Yes, just to add to that, so if you ban smoking, or if you, can you ban separately? Can you just say, okay, I don't want people smoking cannabis in public areas, but they can smoke cigarettes?
Well, my understanding, and I'll defer to Mr. Helinski if he likes, so my understanding is that's the bylaw that Markham has passed. Now, I don't think that bylaw has been obviously challenged yet, or it may be challenged, but that's the approach that they've taken. They differentiated cannabis on certain areas as opposed to cigarettes.
Yeah, my concern is just, as Charlie was saying, it's considered, and Nathan actually said it, Niagara Falls is considered, a family destination. So I think the last thing we want is to go by the brink of the falls and people are there and then you got, 12 people smoking joints at the side of the falls. So, being a sidewalk on, you're allowed to smoke. So on the parks, you're technically allowed, like along Niagara Falls, you're technically allowed to smoke.
Park, Niagara Commission parks are allowed.
Yes, thank you, CEO. So you're allowed, as far as the park's concerned, at the parks along the falls, you're allowed to smoke cannabis and cigarettes at this point.
Well, that's based on the provincial regulation. I mean, there it's actually a provincial park.
So I think that's the big concern, obviously, by some of the tourism stakeholders.
Now, having said all that, I have to just, the enforcement of that will be very difficult. But it's something that, for example, Markham has done and feel it's worth having a bylaw. And I can say there are bylaws that we have that we put in place so that if we do have a problem, we can attack certain problem areas. I mean, I'll use a dog, poop and scoop kind of bylaw. Well, we're not out there actively enforcing it, but where there's a problem area, we will go and concentrate on it. But it can become very costly, and enforcement may be an issue. But if it's something that council wants to do, we certainly are committed to coming back to you within a 6-month period and having a discussion and debate after we receive public consultation on whether or not that's something that council would like to do.
Councilor Carrier.
Well, Your Worship, you're going to hear from people that are given the pros and cons or the benefits or whatever. We happen to have someone at the podium who's, I think, one of the tourist operators that's the most knowledgeable about our industry that could be here in front of the podium, and it's kind of shocking that we're not going to question him a little bit more on if he's worried if we opt out that we're going to be missing the boat, because he would be better, I think, to get his opinion on it than it would be to get someone that wants to open up a cannabis store or anyone else. There's no one in the city, there's only a few people who have the experience in the industry that Mr. Berlin has. And I think it would be great to get a comment from him if he's worried that his business is going to suffer if we opt out and sit back and wait a little bit to see what happens before we opt in.
I share the earlier comments that were made that right now, if Niagara Falls or a lot of other municipalities opt out, we've got a lot of clout. We can go to the Premier, we can go to the province and say, hang on a second, we want all this done, and we probably would get it. If we all opt in the province, then, as you say, we have no clout. I really don't know. All I can tell you is the main reason I'm here tonight is what happened on New Year's Eve, which is fact.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Campbell.
Yes, I just want to challenge this family orientation, vacation. We got wineries. A lot of people are coming, new industry, new tourists to our community because of the wine industry that has been created. It's greatly increased tourism from my perspective. Another situation is that the birth rate across North America has dropped significantly. And so if you're thinking about families, they're not the families that used to have 5, 6 kids. They're the families that have maybe 1 kid. I think it's important that the city take advantage of creating new vacation destination opportunities. And we need to get in on the ground floor, just like the Chamber of Commerce said. We have the opportunity now to get in on the ground floor and work from within.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or
Just
comments?
add
Yeah,
that.
Councilor
I know
Strange.
we have wineries and breweries and stuff, but I can't go and drink my beer or drink my wine along the parkway, go see the falls and have some beers, because I'm gonna get fined, so I can't do that.
To that point,
Yes, Councilor.
if you have a special event permit, if you're at Fireman's Park and you're there for their Fireman's Park Day, and we've issued them an events permit, they're walking all around Fireman's Park with their drinks. So it can happen. We've seen, we allow it to happen. We let different organizations and churches, it is close to the same thing. You've got people who buy drinks with their kids at a carnival and walk all around the carnival while they smoke their cigarettes and drink their drinks, and nobody stands up on their seat and screams, oh my God, the world's falling apart. No different. We give them that permission through our special permitting.
To that point, we cannot go all over the city and just drink wine. That's it. You have to get a special permit for that, and that's an enclosed area that we have to get that. So you can't just do it all over the city and just drink wine and beer wherever you want.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Berlin? If not, thank you, Mr. Berlin, for attending.
Thank you
For your comments.
Good night.
Much appreciated. Our next speaker is Marco Pingu. Mr. Pingu, welcome.
Okay, good evening, Acting Mayor and Council and fellow residents and attendees. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak here this evening. It's the first time I come up, so please forgive me if I'm a little nervous. I'm here basically to voice my opposition to this proposal of permitting the sale of cannabis through private licensed stores here in Niagara Falls. In other words, I'm here to express my opinion and ask council that we opt out. I come here as a dad, a businessman, a lifelong resident of Niagara Falls, and I'm speaking to you as leaders of our community who should be doing things that I think support what is beneficial to the community. I don't speak to you as an expert on marijuana or law enforcement, but I take from 3 points in the literature that they put up there about this purpose or surrounding the Cannabis Act about preventing youth from accessing cannabis, to take the profits away from criminals that deal in cannabis, and to provide adults with safe cannabis. So, at first, yeah, it sounds noble, but I think about this. Preventing youth from accessing cannabis. So by making it legal, how are you really removing it from youth? I think that it falls short for me. Pardon me?
Right now, you can buy it from the teenagers.
Well, yeah, so how is that going to change now that you can buy it at a store? Like, with the kids, they're gonna stop buying it now? There's gonna be people that won't deal with it to children just because you as an adult can go buy it in a store?
No, but right now, they can legally smoke it.
Who can legally smoke it?
It's legal now.
Who can legally smoke it?
People of age.
Children?
Yes. No, not children.
Oh, okay, so,
But just like a bar, which we have on almost every corner.
right.
I'm sorry, I should have gone through you. I apologize.
Okay, I'll move on, thank you. So, basically, I think that rings hollow for me. I don't think you're protecting youth. Secondly, about taking the proceeds or the profits out of the hands of criminals. Well, again, not a law enforcement guy, but I do like watching crime movies and all that. And now this is talking profits and taxes, but generally we hear that they have to launder, and when they launder, they pay taxes. So that money is being taxed in a sense. The government is getting a tax from this illegal activity, even though it's illegal. And then on the third point, we talk about providing adults, because it's recreational marijuana is allowed, allowing them access to safe product. Well, I think the province has done that by having it online. If you want it, you can get it through what the government calls a safe source. In this day and age of Amazon, I'm not a big Amazon user, but you can order something today and it'll be at your door tomorrow. So I think the source is there. So by having bricks and mortar stores, I think it's about expanding the consumption, making it grow, which I don't support. Overall, I believe that there's been much written, said about the subject, and I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainties here about what is being considered. And I look at it very simply, and Vince, Councillor Carrio, I've heard you basically say it. I can't understand, why would you opt in and then you cannot change your mind, but if you opt out, you could always change it after, if it's such a good thing, if it's a wonderful thing to be doing. So that's basically my comments. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pinker. Any questions or comments? If not, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Next speaker we have is Mr. Is it Maltman? Is there a Mark Maltman here? No? All right, we'll move on. Is Brett Bell here? Yep, Mr. Bell, welcome. come on up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Mayor and the members of council. My name is Brett Bell. I'm a Vice President at Hill & Knowlton, but I'm here on behalf of my client, Fire and Flower. Fire and Flower is a national cannabis retailer and who operates 7 stores in Alberta and 2 in Saskatchewan. So what I want to do is just take a minute, just talk a little bit about sort of our general philosophy, what we plan to bring to the table, and if you have any, to answer any questions that you might have about experiences in other jurisdictions. So what we were not successful in the lottery. I do want to say that from the beginning, but we have always said from the beginning that this is sort of a long-term investment in Ontario. We do plan on opening 75 stores here in Ontario eventually once the supply issue is dealt with and that licenses are opened up. But I want to talk about a few things. The first one's education. So Fire and Flower is an education-based retailer. We really believe in educating people about the responsible use of cannabis. And as we know, this has only been legal since October. There's a lot of questions. I've heard some of them tonight. A lot of questions about cannabis use, when to use it, everything from we deal with everything from strains, different, whether it's sativa or indica, or what are the impacts and when you can't use it for, and all that sort of things, the different products. There's a lot to know, and it's part of our role we see as being part of the community and helping to educate people who want to consume cannabis responsibly. In our stores, just from we really believe our general managers and assistant general managers, they have it written into their contracts that they have to shake 500 hands in the community. And what that means is that they have to go out and actually interact with members of the community. They can't just sit there as a retailer. They want to actually interact, educate people about the responsible use. We even do Cannabis 101 sessions to let people know about how everything from, like I said, the different types of strains to what the impacts are, all those types of things. And from an education perspective, this is not new entirely. There's a lot of jurisdictions that have dealt with legalized cannabis for a number of years, specifically in the United States. What we have found is that one of the things I heard a couple times tonight, and it might be raised again, is talking about smoking. And I understand from a municipality's perspective, absolutely dealing with a smoking bylaw is prudent, it's important. But what we have found in other jurisdictions is that because smoking has been it's been drilled into our heads that smoking is bad, once edibles, drinks, and vapes come online, there's a significant reduction in smoking cannabis. It's actually one of the least common methods to use cannabis. It's actually somewhere in and around 15% of users. So we're going to see a significant shift away from smoking in once cannabis is, like I said, edibles, drinks, vapes, whatever types of products that the federal government allows. As we talked about, it's going to be coming online sometime next year. We're going to see a significant shift. Second thing I want to talk about is safety. So with our stores, and I'd be happy, you can go on the website, the Fire and Flower website, but also I'm happy to provide them to you. We are strictly controlled on what we can and can't talk about from a marketing perspective. So any of our stores, you cannot look into them. You're not allowed to, they're actually screened from the public. We're not allowed to market it. We're very strictly controlled by the federal government. And every single person that comes in is age gated. So unlike the LCBO, where you actually, a child can go in there, although they can't purchase a product, they can go into the store. You cannot go into a store unless you're 21 or older. I happened to be in a store in Edmonton about a month ago, and there was a gentleman who was clearly of age. I'd probably guess he's about 45, 50 years old. He had a suit and everything, came in, didn't have his driver's license. They sent him back out. He had to go and get his driver's license from the car. So the second you walk in the door, your ID is checked, and then your ID is checked again at the counter just to make 100% sure that you're of age. So those kind of safety issues are really important to us. We want to make sure that there's no, when we look in different jurisdictions, we have found in Alberta where we operate and in Saskatchewan where we operate, we don't see people smoking outside of our stores. If we ever saw that type of situation, which I can tell you doesn't really happen, but if it did happen, we would tell them to leave. It's very, very important that people consume cannabis responsibly, and that's something that we really focus on. So from an opting in perspective, I think it's important to recognize this is a growing industry, and what's important to look at is not where things are at right this moment, and it is early days, and it's true, it is possible to take an opt-out position. A number of municipalities, including Toronto, Ottawa, London, Kitchener, Waterloo, Burlington, Brantford just opted in. A lot of jurisdictions are opting in. There have been a few that which have been noted that have opted out. But I think the idea is that we do have the opportunity to speak to the province to talk about the changes that need to be made, but opt in at the same time. So we expect this to be an evolving. Issue. We want to be as a responsible cannabis retailer. We think it's really, really important for us to play a part in that, and we will continue to do that here in Ontario and across Canada. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Bell? Seeing as no one else does, I have a question myself. Since you operate, retail outlets in other provinces, were other provinces, did they act the same as Ontario did in terms of not handing down any power to the municipalities?
It depends. So the provinces all sort of handled things differently. Some did auctions, some did just opened up licenses, etc. Probably the most analogous one province is Alberta, and I do have to say that they were a little bit more. The provincial regulator was a little bit more prescriptive, so they set out a number of standards that all retailers had to follow. So they had a little bit more detail in that perspective. So, for example, they set out sensitive use, which was a little bit more than the 150 meters from stores. They talked about everything from addiction centers to public parks to things like that. So there was a little bit more detail in that, especially how they operate. They specifically detailed what the safe rooms were. They had to be this thick. The walls had to be this thick. It had to be security cameras that had 60 days worth of data on it, those kind of things. So it was a little bit more prescriptive, but again, the provinces were very different. From that perspective, in terms of siting, I do want to mention that one of the things that when we're looking at different sites, we're looking for grade A retail. We're not looking to be in areas, that what I call sort of residential. We're looking for high traffic, both car and foot traffic. So very similar to the power centers and places that you would expect regular retail. That's typically the type of stores. I can only speak for Fire and Flower, but I would guess that retailers that are similar in scope to ours are looking for grade A retail.
And I'm interested to know, because you talked about some of the security measures, and you said that those were all federally regulated?
No, so the province, there's from our perspective, it's all provincially regulated. So what they have said, what the AGCO has said, is that you have to take reasonable security measures. Part of what we do is obviously that we have a vested interest in making sure that we are properly secure. So the way that we build our stores in other jurisdictions, we plan to in Ontario, is to make sure that it's properly, again, that there's a proper vault, and that we've got security cameras and things like that, and we know who's coming in, who's coming out in terms of our staff, etc. So that's something that there are general guidelines by AGCO, but we have our own operational procedures that we want to follow. We are being best in class is something that we're really focused on, and that's something that comes from security to safety to education across the board.
And you did talk about some screening measures. Are those in place in Ontario?
In terms of which screening are you talking about?
You said that you had, screening on your windows so that.
Yeah, so that's federally regulated. So that's something that we have to have. Yeah, exactly. So if you actually look at any of the windows, it's essentially like a nice. Essentially, it's sort of they're screened or painted over, so you can't actually see into the store. All of the. Unlike head shops that you might be familiar with, all the retailers are going to have that kind of federally regulated type of setup.
I see. Okay. Any questions of Mr. Bell? I know I have Councillor Strange and then Councillor Carrillo.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find out. I asked Nathan earlier about what you actually can sell at your storefront. Can you actually sell CBD oils, or do you sell the product to get them, produce them into CBD?
So it's no. So we always sell. So the Ontario Cannabis stores, they provide all the product to us. Okay. So there's kind of what you consider the wholesaler. So we actually provide the bud for all, and then we also are allowed to sell oils, and then we have accessories. So if people want to use pre-rolled or bongs or things like that at the moment. So right now, because of they're not federally regulated, so anything like edibles, etc., we do expect to be able to sell those at some point, but we can't right now. Oils we are allowed, yes. Yeah.
Now, would you know? I got some benefits here from CBD oils, but of people who have pain.
Yep.
Do you have any kind of?
Sure. Yeah. Actually,
just mention it so people don't know.
No, for sure.
It's different than people just going to smoke and getting high. People get these oils because.
For sure. So for folks who don't know, and it's a great question to ask, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, there's a lot of talk about sort of, there's THC and CBD. The CBD is the non-psychoactive part of it, and what we actually find in other jurisdictions, specifically Alberta, is that that's actually the stuff we have the hardest time keeping on the shelves, is because we have quite a lot of people coming for, again, as you mentioned, now we can't make any claims, medicinal claims, but we do find anecdotally that people are talking about pain relief, joint pain, in some cases anxiety, things like that. What we actually find in a lot of our stores is we actually have seniors buses take sort of trips to our stores to actually buy CBD oil, and because they may very well be, but that's actually more popular. Right now it's sort of culturally, I think we think of people recreationally getting high, partying, etc. There's quite a lot of different uses, and that's part of it for sure.
Yeah, I'm reading up, and I see a lot of people have been using it for migraines and insomnia, anxiety, even Parkinson's and depression. So
yep, for sure.
It's not all people going up, and I think the stigma is people going and getting high. But it's not that simple. People go up, they use this oil to help with their ailments.
Yep, for sure. And people use it across the board for different types of things. And I think once we see different products come online, so for example, topicals for things like rheumatoid arthritis and stuff like that, I think that is really where this is going. And again, as I mentioned before, I recognize right now we need to talk about things like smoking, because that's sort of the most urgent issue to talk about. But really, when you think about what the future of this industry is going to be, it's talking about a $300 billion industry. Again, we're talking about a $3 billion industry for pet food. So for anxious pets, etc., that they're going to have a CBD supplement. So there's really no limit to this type of an industry, and Canada does have an opportunity to be sort of at the forefront of that.
Okay, I have Councillor Carrio and then Councillor Iononi. Councillor Carrio.
Thank you. Through you, the security measures on a daily basis, would you have security people or personnel on site every day when you're open?
No, we haven't found the need to do that. We don't.
For that?
No, we haven't in other jurisdictions. We don't really, to be honest with you, we don't really have, like, again, we've been operating since October in Alberta. We don't have really those kind of issues where you have incidents of violence or any of that kind of stuff. It's not a common occurrence. So this is something, even again, if you sort of take a look at where we've been in other places, it's not something that's necessary. It's just prudent to make sure. I mean, it's like any product, right? Security, you want to make sure that stuff that is valued, that is seen as valuable, that you sell, you want to make sure that nothing happens to it. So that's really
the only reason I asked it is because I did go and inspect some of the stores in one of the cities in the U.S., and there's 2-inch glass, armed people. It looked like a bit of an army camp, so I didn't know what yours looked like.
No, yeah, it could be other jurisdictions. I actually toured a number of different facilities in Edmonton, and again, it's really what you would see as a typical retail type of situation for sure.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Iononi.
Thank you. And with the big announcement that Coca-Cola is now looking,
Thank you.
Thought I better
yes,
fix
fair
that.
enough.
Is now looking at marijuana infused Coca-Cola. Will restaurants be able to serve that? Like, we're looking at something we don't even understand how big it's going to be.
That's right.
So will it be? I can envision it at one day you go to a restaurant and I'll take the marijuana infused, but my kids will have the Diet Coke, please, or however that happens. But that's coming. That's absolutely coming. I am waiting for Canopy Growth's insomnia medication personally myself. It's supposed to help you sleep, and let's hope it does.
Yeah, so what I will say is I do want to make sure we're dealing with the here and now, so that none of that is able to be here online. We do expect that to happen. I think we will see it sort of roll out over time. I don't think it's something that's going to happen right away, but I do think that what we've seen in other jurisdictions is that there are things like there's tasting rooms where they infuse food with it or things like that. And again, it's not something I think when you think about head shops and dispensaries right now, you have a very different viewpoint. It's sort of you go out, you smoke a joint, things like that. But what we're seeing, again, in other jurisdictions, it's very subtle, and it's not sort of, again, it's something that you can just adds a little bit of enjoyment, very similar to alcohol, where it's alcohol, wine or liquor infused type of foods, and it just sort of adds the benefit of it. And I think that is, to your point, Councillor, I think we're only at the tip of the iceberg in terms of what's actually possible. and keeping in mind of all the different strains that are coming, everything has a different impact, and you can really tailor what you want it for. In some cases, you want to relax, but you still want to be, you know, functional and focused and those kind of things. You have the ability to do that, and I think that that's what really we need to start thinking about 1, 2, 3, 5 years down the road.
Any other questions of Mr. Bell? Yep, Councilor Dubowski.
Cannabis, the smoking of it, how is it regulated where your storefronts are located? Is it regulated differently from tobacco, or?
No, it's regulated it's by municipal bylaw. But what we do find is, it again, just from you know, sort of, I guess, a customer perspective, it's not something that we would encourage. We discourage folks who, let me take a step back. It doesn't happen all that often. The vast majority of people, they like to consume their product at home. Generally, they don't sort of stick around the storefront. But if they did, we would ask them to leave because that's just something, from that perspective, it's not something that we would look well upon.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Bell?
Thank you for your time.
Very
Appreciate
much.
it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming down. Our next speaker tonight is Felix Pingu. Mr. Pingu, welcome. Welcome.
Good evening, Your Worship, Acting Mayor, and member of the council, City of Niagara Falls, which are here tonight. I came here concerning, but after hearing a lot of speaking, maybe I'll change my mind. Last night I was in St. Catherine. Same thing. Well, we have a very serious problem, at least I think, my opinion. I'm just going to read a few, then I'll make my closing. Most of you know my opinion about cannabis. If you remember when the application came in to the city for growing marijuana at West Landis Lane, I spoke my opinion, not in favor. I have been contrary growing marijuana. Now I am told about selling cannabis in our city. The entire world to come to see Niagara Falls is historical, well on the canal. I hear from customer in our family restaurant how beautiful is the falls, the green grass, the flower, the thundering water, make me feel good. The Niagara Peninsula with the growing wine, the canal that joins between Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, that makes me feel to come. The peaceful they see when they hear the thundering of the falls. And this is true what I'm telling you. None of us created the falls. None of us did. But every one of us here make a living because of the beauty of the falls. Why do we need to take away from this and selling drugs? Let us not be greed by expanding sale of cannabis and to make a lot of money. Is money more important than the safety of our children? Is it? Our children already have a lot of pressure. As a parent, it's our duty to make the safe for our children. It's our duty to do it for the future of the family. When we blame the youth, we blame them when they use the drugs. We do that. Maybe some are friends, some are our own family. Why? Because we don't do anything. We don't blame. We are the blame. We make the decision. We make that decision. I know many family have lost the family members because of the drug. I know for a fact. We all feel sorry for this family. It doesn't stop right there. It hurts the rest of the family. When you hear young man died when 32, died in bed, then I find out overdose, because I know the people. That hurts. That hurts. And I think some of this might happen to some of us. Richmond Hill, Markham have announced cannabis in the city. Mississauga concerned cannabis store will dispute existing the business. Oakville look like they might out too. I'm doing a project in Mississauga. To get a building permit took me a year, maybe more. Just got yesterday the okay. I spoke with some of the aldermen about saying no to Mississauga. And I said, can you tell me the reason why? We want to show the rest of Canada and Ottawa we don't need drugs in Mississauga. And that's why we billed you $145,000 to beautify your Ontario before you get your permit. And we make sure that that will not happen in Mississauga and Markham. These are people representing the community. We cannot be afraid of the federal government. They make this decision for what? For what? They give us the opportunity to protest, not violence, by words and march. We cannot be afraid. We cannot. If we join the support and we send a message to the federal government and provincial, as we as parents, it's our duty to protect the safety of the future of the family. The law in place to make the every day to support the police force. We have a police force. We cannot control the criminal. We can't. We need more. We have the federal government that has money to propose to the city that give you $78,000, $50,000, we make $1 billion. They don't have money to stop this marijuana that hurts our family and the future. We don't have that money. As we are parents, we can provide safety for the children. Don't blame youth. We are the blame. We are the blame. Other concern, to effect establish Niagara Falls business, there's no way to regulate when the store can be accessed closeness to a school or private school. There's no way to regulate the smell. There's no way to regulate number of the store. Anyone can apply for the store. Now, we hear a lot of comment, billions. We all want it. Maybe I close my restaurant and I open up a store too. I can apply. I can do that. I'm free to do that. But I will not do it. I got a call to build a greenhouse. For what? I said, no, I have nothing to do with it. And that's the honest truth. Now, we all spoke the marijuana, which they say is good. It's good. How come we don't see no report from the medical point of view. We don't listen to the medical.
Mr. Pinto, we were limiting to 5 minutes. I don't know how much more you have in your presentation.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I clocked out, they spoke for 15 minutes and 20 minutes.
Some people were asked questions, and that's why it went
Yeah,
longer.
I clock it when they spoke and plus when you ask a question.
No,
Okay, if you wanted me to stop, I stop, but I need 3 more minutes.
Sure.
The health unit, Mrs. Andrew Feller, you all have the report. It shows here 4 items, how harms this medication is. We do not listen to our science, to our doctors. We don't listen to them. You all have a copy. Then I am a businessman. I'm going to say this is good. This oil is good for you. I do not understand. How can we let this go by? If you opt out, you can apply again. If you opt in, you stay. What a nice. I saw a film a couple of weeks ago. You opt in, that's it. You stay or you die. As a parent, look at the business. I think I'm not the best businessman around. I'm small business, a family. I mind my own business. And I say that we vote you in to do the best for the city. And I know each and every one of you would do. This is not good. This is not protecting our children. This is not protecting no one. Only to make money, greed of money. Like Mr. Burton said, on my place, no smoking, no smoking. I knew his dad. I never met this gentleman. But no smoking. That's my property, no smoking. My house, the doctor told me almost 35 years ago, I had a duodenal ulcer. Felix, stay out of the smoke. I put the first sign before the unicameral legal, no smoking in my house. You gotta listen to the signs. If we disobey that, how can we go ahead? I apologize if I took too long. Mr. Mayor, member of the council, citizen, these are my concerns, that we cannot do it without proper information.
Any
Thank you.
questions of Mr. Pingu? No? Okay, if not, Mr. Pingu, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next on the list I have is Patrick Chow. Is Mr. Chow here? Okay. That then is my list of speakers. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to make a submission that hasn't already? Sir, step right up. Just give us your name and your
I'm on the
address.
list because of the councilors saying I would be on the list, meaning that I was late for Wednesday. Thank you very much.
It's okay. We just need your name and your address for the record, please.
You don't want the full name, you said? Just the first name was what did I heard? The full name? Sure. Not embarrassed at all. You can Google my name. Sean Tedder. Basically, as a recent activist and a smoker for 40 years, I don't smoke every day. I could smoke what my prescription is. I have an 80 gram a day license. I live near Lundy's Lane. I'm opposite 3 massage parlors and a sundowner. I don't bother with those people. They don't bother with me. The tourists come in, they buy their whiskey or whatever, they buy their beer. If they had a cannabis lounge there, they would go and do that as well at the same time. We used to have a lounge in Niagara Falls. I've only been here a year. I'm from Toronto for 58 years. But Niagara Falls has always been progressive in the growing industry. I've come for 7 conferences in the greenhouse industry. I've asked them to display my ornamental plants that I'm licensed for, and they are considering it. I said, you might need a security guard, or they might try and take the 6-foot plant, but hey, it might beat the other plants, the ornamental plants. The Niagara region to me has always been a family, as I heard earlier, a family-oriented place as well. But if you restrict it more, prohibition has never worked for anything, as we all know. So we don't have to go down the line of prohibition. As soon as you prohibit something, the criminals get in, or organized crime, as you say, or minors, and so on and so on. So by giving it tough enough rules that it's legal, we can't go backwards right now. I mean, the next government, conservatives said, hey, they might delegalize it. Can I say that word? So that's one of my concerns. The other concern is there's nothing being said about the medical community. We've all talked about the recreational community, so I'm just going to give a quick history lesson on the medical community and our rights. Our rights to be protected is Section 7. We've won every court case, Section 7, which in the Charter of Rights, it means you have the freedom of life, liberty, and health. Now, that is basically can be quite open, and it's been proven since 1999. We had Terry Parker Jr. was the lead one in Ontario that won the case for epilepsy seizures. And because he had epileptic seizures, which was on CNN News, it switched around a doctor for CNN News, Gupta, if you ever seen, he's Ganjib Gupta, yeah. I'm not saying the names right, sorry, but what I'm getting at is now he went a whole 180 degrees as a brain surgeon and the lead doctor for CNN News, and he's gone around the world to Israel and so on. So we do have also no proof, medical proof, as this gentleman and a few other people that are against cannabis. We don't have proof because we didn't have the authorization from Health Canada, or in the case of America, DEA. So you can write this down. It's Google Granny's List, Granny Storm's List. There is 30,000 peer-reviewed researcher papers from around the world, and this family in California, God bless them, they're computer nerds, and they turn these very expensive reports, by the way, because you have to access databases that doctors are supposed to get, and journals and scientists, and they must have been given access, and that's great, but they've turned them into PDFs. So we have from A to Z, Alzheimer's. If you have a family member that has Alzheimer's, or you have dementia, you go down the list and you see all the research has been done, even though it wasn't allowed in North America, per se. So we have worldwide, and it's mainly Israel. Israel found THC in the 60s. They found the 120 plus cannabinoids by microscope and so on, and distillation. So when this gentleman's saying they sell CBD products, that's one cannabinoid out of the 120 cannabinoids. And then what you're smelling on Clifton Hill is the terpenes. The terpenes are the perfume of the cannabis. So when the farmers when the farmers get complaints, like Tweed and Canopy that have greenhouses here, they can use carbon filtration and fans and so on, and have a closed loop system that keeps the smell in. They decide not to put that expense in, then that's when your bylaws should come in effect. In Toronto, they do have a bylaw. If you have a grow, which I have doctors and practitioners across Canada, you can Skype them. You can get a grow for yourself with just having insomnia or having Crohn's disease or having anything, because these doctors are compassionate and they're getting beat up by Health Canada auditing them through the Doctors Association of that province. And that's what they do. Health Canada will call for my 300 grammer and my 400 grammer. I didn't submit it. I didn't want a grow room, but I wanted to be protected. If I was pulled over, I don't smoke and drive, I don't drink and drive, but if I'm pulled over and I have a pound of cannabis in my trunk of my car, which I'm supposed to have by law now, not in this front seat, that's acceptable. It's treated like liquor as well, right? You're supposed to when you go to the liquor store, put it in the trunk of your car, right? If you have a trunk, well, find that backspace. So they have compassionate doctors across Canada that allow you now, because we were stopped. And the reason for all these dispensaries, illicit dispensaries that popped up, was that we didn't have that right to grow for 2 years. They were in a Supreme Court case challenge called the Allard case. The Allard case was fighting for doctors' rights and a few other reasons. So that was what happened, is they came out with a new ACMPR. The ACMPR is basically licenses legal producers, which we have probably 20 or more growers in the Niagara region. By the way, what hasn't been mentioned by this fine gentleman here, Andrew, I think, and so on, is that there's field gate sales in that act. Doug Ford said you're allowed field gate sales for the LPs. So that means you go up to, I love the markets around here. I go and get my garlic, and I jar it, and all this stuff, you know, all the fresh fruits and things, you can jar in Masons. You can't do that near Toronto, it's polluted and so on. But anyway, what I'm getting at is field gate sales, they might not go into because of security reasons. Once the public knows where they're producing officially, there will be a vault there, which will have a bank-type vault, and they could do an armed robbery. So I doubt they're going to do that. They're probably going to buy like Smoke Joe or another company and do their up to 75 licenses that way. But they only supposed to have 5% participation. So about security, I think this gentleman mentioned also, is that each board of directors, if it's a corporation, has to have 3 members to make a corporation. You could be your family members, whatever, attend a meeting once a month, but they have to be checked out they have to be checked out by the security regulations of the Bill 45. And now, I mentioned the Granny Storms list. That's a good one for you to check. And it mainly, it's peer-reviewed research papers from around the world. Next thing that came up, I like going last almost because I can sort of answer some of the questions that weren't come up, is that we had basically no medical responsibility here. When you say I can't go and smoke down the sidewalk, then I have a problem with that because that's my constitutional right now as a medical. Okay. Then there's the 26 states plus now are medical, and approximately 10 probably are recreational and heading that way this year or next year. They vote usually on every 2 years, right? They put the ballots in. So what that means is they came back with a statistic saying 25% of those 26 plus states medical have stopped ordering prescription opiates, oxycontins. Opiates is the heroin / opium fields in Afghanistan's being protected by many troops now. So what happens is those turn into big pharma to make in pain relievers, and Oxycontin was promised not to be addictive or harmful. 2 years later, they had to retract that, and they're being sued all over the place. But what we're getting at is we have an opiate crisis, as you see in the newspapers and radio. It's turned into a fentanyl / opiate crisis, because in Vancouver, you can go to the health store, your your local farmer, Save or Shoppers Drug Mart, show your ID and show your OHIP card. You can get a free nasal or injection to save somebody if it happened at a bar. And I'm a security guard, by the way. It happened at my bar in Rebel. We have 5,000 people come to Toronto down to Cherry Street. Boom, we had 3 fentanyl overdoses in a couple weeks. And
Mr. Tedder, are you coming to a close?
Yep. So Cannabis has shown in those 25 plus states that it's taken over from the opiates, which now the doctors are getting slashed in the hands from the Doctors Association. Don't get people addicted to Oxycontins, but then they go on the street and buy a $20 pill when they can get a pill for $1. So you're creating a vicious cycle of pain relief. People can't get pain relief. So now that we have recreational / medical cannabis, and medical cannabis, just to relate, because it hasn't been brought up, it's hard to get from your regular family doctor. Just ask all your family doctors, will you prescribe me medical cannabis? He'll say, well, you're going to go to a legal producer? Yeah, I'll go to a legal producer and pay $10 or a gram or whatever. Why? But they don't suggest that you can grow it at home by getting a Skype doctor, mainly if they won't do it, and 11 pages download on Health Canada, and you can say indoor, outdoor, and storage. So my 80 grams a day gives me 60 pounds of storage. So if I want to buy when the market's in the summertime and there's a lot of growth, then I can buy or produce from another grower up to 4 patients per 4 patients under a designated grower. So the medical part of it has to be protected, and everything that you're going to do and decide from Markham banning you on the sidewalk, you're affecting not recreational growers as much, You're affecting medical guys that will say, my arthritis, I couldn't do this 5 years ago without pain. I couldn't walk without a cane. So I think I brought up everything. We have, anything that you do in bylaws will be challenged in court, and that's the only way the cannabis medical growers / patients and doctors have won. So you gotta be careful on your constitutional rights, make sure that you remember the medical community. And you did lose your vape lounge that was here for 4 years in Victoria Avenue. I supported him, and unfortunately he had to close his door because every person came over, tourists, hey, where can I get the cannabis? I hear it's legal in Canada. For medical people it is, but you know, he had to turn away and say, if you bring your own, you can sit and relax for $5 a whole day, right? And that was the conditions of most vapor lounges. So I entertain that you protect the medical people's rights and consider that stringent, it's the most stringent vape, cigarette, and cannabis rolled in law that you can't go anywhere nearly except Parkland. And the Niagara Parkland is great. As I yelled out, there's going to be people bonging it up on the bottom of Clifton Hill, I hope.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Because I do have a lot of experience. I didn't tell you about I own dispensaries as well.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Tedder? If not, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to get the medical aspect in. Because even though you're recreational, there's a medical benefit, believe me.
Is there anybody else who hasn't made a presentation, sir? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Robert Davis. I'm a bylaw officer here with the city. I just wanted to address some of the confusion about people being able to smoke marijuana on the sidewalks, on the streets and that. It is currently prohibited by our bylaw, our anti-smoking bylaw, and I'll just read the section just to have on record tonight. No person shall smoke tobacco or any other substances upon or within the lands or buildings owned by the corporation of the city of Niagara Falls. So I hope that maybe just addresses some of those concerns that people had. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Is there anyone else in the audience that hasn't made a presentation tonight that wishes to? Okay, seeing none then, I guess we'll call the presentations closed and I'll leave it up for council discussion. Councillor Ioannoni.
Is this public meeting closed?
It is.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we opt in to having cannabis stores with the added part of the recommendation that we also ask the province to give us more rules and more authority and power to regulate our bylaws so that we can determine where and when they go, so that we don't have stores of 6 and 7 in a row.
Okay. So in essence, are you moving the recommendations in the report? Because the second recommendation does say yes? Okay, all right. So motion to move.
And I'd like that reported, please.
A motion to move PBD 2019-03.
Yes, but it was, okay, the council determined whether, usually it says staff recommends that council do this or that. So that my motion is that council approves to opt into the provincial retail cannabis store program and then the rest of it.
Okay, sounds good. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Seconded by Councillor Campbell.
And record it, please.
Okay. Open for discussion. Councillor Carrier.
Thank you. I can't support the motion, obviously, for the comments that I've made in the past. The province has given the city the option of limiting retail cannabis outlets. The only way we can do it is by opting out, sitting back and seeing what happens in municipalities, fighting for our rights as a municipality to protect some of the businesses that are not in favor of having it in our community. And it's the only way that we can guarantee that Niagara Falls won't become the cannabis capital of Canada, in my mind. I don't see any reason for opting in at this time, other than we're getting sucked in by this legislation that the province has put in front of us. As we can opt in at any time. You know, if you think that if we opt out, that the minute we opt in, that there wouldn't be a lineup to open stores in Niagara Falls, you just have no clue about what's going on in Niagara Falls. We can opt in at any time. We'll still have more cannabis stores than we want when we want them, not when they want, when we want. You know, the other municipalities, a lot of other municipalities that have opted in I understand why a lot of them have opted in. I've seen some of the ones that opted in. They've got nothing to lose. Nothing. We don't need to opt in. This is not something where we need to be a leader. This is better where we follow. Watch what happens in the other municipalities. And then when we see that it's right for us, we opt in. That's my opinion, Your Worship, and I'm going to vote against the motion.
Okay, thank you. I have Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. I've been relatively quiet this evening. The last time I was so excited about the fact that we were going to have the opportunity to have cannabis in the city of Niagara Falls. And my background, since I've been here for how many years, has been in the tourist industry. And I thought, what a great opportunity to have that, and all of the people from the hotels in Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, are going to be coming over here to know that cannabis is legal over here. If I thought 2 years ago I'd be standing up here and talking about cannabis, I wouldn't believe that. I changed my mind on cannabis, and I'm so happy that you got up and made your presentation about the medical aspect and the comments about a drug. It's totally out of perspective of what we're talking about. And I changed my mind when I saw that in the States, where there wasn't medical marijuana available for infants that were suffering from seizures, sometimes 50 a day, that they were moving to other states where marijuana was available for their children, and they got rid of the seizures by doing that. And you see what's happened here, because we got it over here now. Cuomo, the governor over in New York, was totally against marijuana for years. And all of a sudden, I think he realizes Canada has it, and that's where they're going to be going. So I went out, and after, in fact, a couple of the comments were made about Thompson saying, I'm concerned about the tourist industry, and we don't want to be the capital of for cannabis in Canada. I went out and I heard from the people in the industry, the tourist industry, who had some real concerns with respect to opening this up. I don't want 15 stores in Victoria Centre, BIA, and they have, without exception, legitimate concerns. And I am thinking of this as a real opportunity, a positive opportunity. The medical aspect is extremely important in my mind. And I think when you have a survey through the city, and 65% of the people support opting in, and 8 of them also want restrictions. So we're talking about 73% people indicating that they are in favor of this municipality opting in. They're talking about money. Yeah, people are going to make money for sure. But the opportunity for jobs and people who are homeless now, which we hear every time we have a council meeting about the problems that exist where people don't have a job, they're homeless, they're out on the street. I heard that a building was bought in the city of Niagara Falls, and it's going to be a grow-op. And I had a meeting with the gentleman, and I said, boy, that's a big building. How many jobs are you creating? He said 450 high-paying jobs. And I said, oh my God, that's unbelievable. You know, we're having pressure in the auto industry and everything else. So here's something that's certainly going to offset that. Anyway, I'm very concerned, and I know the staff have attempted to put as much pressure on the provincial government to make sure that we have control. In fact, when we initially talked about this, that is the major fear. We don't want the city of Niagara Falls filled up with cannabis stores. If we had 2 or 3 or 4 in the whole city, that would be appropriate. And I think what we have to do, and I appreciate the young gentleman getting up and saying you can't smoke on the streets, which most people agree that they don't want everybody walking up and down Clifton Hill smoking marijuana. It's not what we're all about. We're a family-oriented tourism visitation destination, and that's what we want to do. But if we can expand that, I don't have any problem with that. I think we have to opt in, and I think we have to have, with this motion, a resolution indicating that municipalities must have in Ontario the ability to control the location, the numbers of any stores for cannabis in the future. And I think that we do that by having a resolution with the motion, which is circulated to every municipality in Ontario, and going right to the Premier, telling him that we want control of our own destiny and control of how many stores and where they're located, and input into the control of this whole situation. So 73% of the community voted and said yes. We have to control it because we don't want to harm our very vibrant tourist industry. And that's what I'm all about. But I really think that this is an opportunity, and it's not a drug that people are dying on. This is a medical opportunity also. So, thank you.
Okay, now the last part of the recommendation there, the last bullet, does say that City Council send a resolution to the province requesting that municipalities in Ontario be given greater regulatory controls over location, distance separations, and numbers of retail cannabis stores within a municipality.
I think
I'm sure Doug Ford's going to be so shaken by that resolution.
So-
I think it goes to every municipality. It's legal.
It is part of the motion. You want
Yep.
to add to that it goes to every
Absolutely.
municipality in Ontario? Just
Yep.
ask the mover
To go.
and seconder?
To go.
Yep,
Yep.
okay, friendly amendment. Okay, friendly amendment has been added to the motion. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor
Yes,
Strange?
Acting Mayor. You know what, coming in here and listen to everybody in the chambers here, and for or against, and you know, I Googled actually how many countries are actually legalized cannabis in the world. And there's 195 countries in the world, and 2 are legal, Ecuador and Canada. So we're either way ahead of the game or we're doing something wrong.
Just look at the leaders.
That's true.
That's only medical, sir.
So, oh no, it's not.
Just
Sorry, no.
30-year recreational.
Google it. Anyways, I'm supporting you, sir, so. Changed my mind really quick, believe me. So, to the bylaw officer, my main concern, and when Charlie came up about the tourism and the aspects of smoking cannabis in the tourism district and all over the city, where are they allowed to smoke cannabis?
If you go by the bylaw,
Yeah.
anywhere that's not owned by the city, private property, I guess, parks,
So
like Niagara Parks property.
they can smoke at the,
Yeah,
okay, so that could be up to the parks to.
that would be up to them, I'm not
Okay.
sure what their policy or law is on that.
Okay. You know, and this gentleman in the red that came up, and, you know, and I listened to Councillor Tops about, you know, infants and that who use, you know, CBD oils and stuff that have seizures. And I remember, you know, watching a kid, you know, had severe autism, banging their head against the wall, and the only thing that would stop them was CBD oil. And listening to the gentleman in the red coming up and saying, you know, there's a lot of elderly coming in buses just because not to smoke this marijuana, just want the CBD oil because the ailments, the severe headaches, pain, migraines, cancer patients, insomnia, anxiety, epilepsy, depression, Parkinson's, glaucoma. You know, so it's some place that it's regulated. They don't have to go on the streets to find it. Some people, they can't get it from their doctors, you know, because they can't get the prescription. You don't, well, I don't think you have that ailment. Well, you don't feel the pain inside that I have right now. So the only way, the safe place they can get it is a place like this. You know, you saw Welland and St. Catharines, they just opted in. They picked they did the lottery, so they have the 7 operators wherever they're coming in. If we don't opt in now, the only thing I'm afraid of is that they're gonna opt in St. Catharines or Welland and be afraid that we're gonna be causing us. But my main concern was about the public smoking. I think we handled that. So I will be supporting this, and especially I'm happy to find out that they will be selling CBD oils in these storefronts, so supporting.
Can you put it in Kool-Aid?
Yes, you can. Put it in your vodka.
Any other comments from members of council before we call the vote? No? Okay, Mr. Mattson.
Okay, so I think council's heard the the motion. Just to repeat in brief here, that council opt in to the provincial retail cannabis store program, plus the other 3 bullet points that you see before you is listed as the recommendations, plus the friendly amendment of forwarding that resolution also onto all Ontario municipalities. So I'll call for the vote. Councillor Campbell.
In favor?
Councillor Dabrowski.
In support.
Councillor Iannoni.
In support.
Councillor Curio.
Opposed?
Councillor LaRocco.
Lococo.
Sorry, Lococo.
In favor.
It's a morphed based on your seat there. Councillor Strange.
In favor.
Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
And Acting Mayor Peter Angelo.
Aye.
And that passes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for participating tonight. Appreciate the comments that everyone made. And we'll move on with our agenda. Under reports, we have CD 2019-01, a new council procedural bylaw. Looking for a motion of council to pass the new procedural bylaw. Motion by Councillor Campbell, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Motion's carried, thank you. Under 6.2 and 6.3, we have the monthly tax receivables report for November and also the municipal counts. Looking for a motion to approve by Councillor Strange, seconded by Councillor Lococo. All those in favor? Thank you. 6.4 is our 2019 interim tax levy, which we passed because we haven't passed our budget yet. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Dabrowski. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. And under 6.5, we have a report, a legal report L 2018-01 to permanently close and declare surplus an old road allowance between Warner Road and the Queen Elizabeth Way, and that's moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Dabrowski. All those in favor? Thank you very much. With the conflict so noted, yes. Moving on to communications, under 7.1, we have a flag raising for Crime Stoppers of Niagara. This will take place during January of this year, 2019. Looking for a motion to approve the flag raising. Moved by Councillor Dabrowski, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Thank you. 7.2, same thing. It's a flag raising for Bell Let's Talk, and that will be on January 30th. And I have a motion to approve that by Councillor Lococo, seconded by Councillor Campbell. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Next, we have correspondence from Kenneth Westhughes regarding the...
Will be received for information.
Move that council receive for the information of council by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Dabrowski. All those in favor? I'm sorry, Councillor Campbell.
I think this is too serious to receive and file. I would like to see this go to our solicitor and have a report brought back to us with respect to the present situation of that property and everything that's happened around it.
Okay. Let's see.
Can I add that to the motion?
Well, let me ask, is that a friendly amendment?
What we're hearing in this is similar to what we heard before, when the name change was in conflict with another business. Has nothing to do with the city, has nothing to do with planning or the approval of the development. And now we have another situation which really, if it comes forward, we're going to deal with it. If it doesn't come forward, then we'll wait and see what happens with the property. But we have no involvement. I would ask the solicitor to give us a comment whether this is something that we can do anything about. We can't do anything about it.
And I'd ask the solicitor for a comment with respect to, should we be looking at it in much greater depth?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Through the acting mayor, as council knows, the matter is subject to an LPAP proceeding right now. I'm certainly aware of the correspondence. The matter raised in there are, they're not matters that directly affect the city's interest. However, they may have some bearing on the LPAP proceeding in the fullness of time. I'm happy to investigate them and report back.
Okay. I kind of got both sides there.
Would it be better to do it now or to wait for a future date?
It would be my recommendation that it not be done right now. I'm happy to bring back a report. Some of the matters, depending on the answers, may be better reported on in camera as opposed to an open session. To be perfectly frank, we'll have to look into this because there's an assertion that the company is subject to creditor protection or CCAA proceedings. And I simply don't know the answer. I also don't know whether it's going to have any impact on the LPAP proceeding. It may not.
Okay. Would you be talking about bringing back a report to council in the near future or after the LPAP proceedings?
I'm certainly in council's hands on that. We can bring back a preliminary report in the near future. The LPAP proceeding, the LPAP pre-hearing conference is scheduled for April. And we'll certainly know more at that point. We'll also have some more direction from the LPAP. In the meantime, all that I can really offer is an update, a factual update, and a review of the potential implications if those facts are correct. But at the end of the day, it'll be up to the parties and up to the LPAT as to how the matter proceeds and whether it proceeds through a hearing or comes to some sort of a pause.
I'd be perfectly happy with that, Your Worship. That can be part of the motion. If not, I'm going to vote against the motion.
Okay. I'll leave it to the mover and seconder.
Yeah. No, I don't think we have to do anything at this point. If the financial matters are solved by the applicant, it's going to move forward. LPAT is going to make their decision one way or the other. That's when we can react to it.
Okay. So therefore, there is no friendly amendment. So the motion on the floor is to receive and file the correspondence.
Unfriendly.
Sorry?
I say it's unfriendly.
So we're dealing with 7.3 right now. The motion on the floor is to receive and file. If everyone understands the motion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm sorry, was that
motion
Mr.
is carried.
Westhouse?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Can I speak to it? I wasn't sure what you were.
The receive and file was the motion.
Receive and file was the motion.
And a friendly amendment was to have the lawyer bring back a report.
Oh.
It wasn't accepted.
It wasn't?
No.
I think
Well-
you missed the legal opinion as well.
I missed the legal opinion too?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize he was sitting there. Okay.
Okay. So moving on then, we'll go to 7.
What was the legal opinion? I'm sorry, I had to watch them.
I'm not going to speak for him, so.
Okay. Can I have the-
Thank you. In summary, through the acting mayor, the matters raised in Mr. Westhew's correspondence pertain to financial or fiscal matters affecting the company, potential CCAA or creditor protection, which don't have a direct bearing on the LPAT appeal at this point. So the options that I laid out would be to bring back a factual report on what the bearing might be, or wait until the LPAT pre-hearing in April and afterwards report to council on the direction given at that time.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 7.4 then.
Could we just procedurally finish the vote? Because right now we have all in favor with opposition from Wayne Campbell, and Councillor Iannone is also opposed.
Is also opposed, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. 7.4 is the Niagara Health Foundation, and they're inviting us to their elimination draw. I know Mr. Todd wants to make a comment before we have a motion of council.
Mr. Acting Mayor, as we spoke at the council education session, we're going to have a policy come forward, hopefully within the next meeting or two, where we're looking at taking a different approach. And I know that we've talked many times about when individual groups come to us for donations or asking us to buy tickets or tables. And you know, this is one of them tonight, I guess, that they're asking a similar thing. So I guess what we're asking is maybe we can, you know, put off any of these until we get that new policy in front of you. We're looking at kind of putting it into the hands of each individual councillor when the policy comes forward, rather than having, you know, group tables purchased where it's very difficult to get attendance at those events.
Move that
Okay.
we receive and file.
Motion to receive and file by Councillor Carrio, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Thank you very much. 7.5 is the tourist exemption for retail holiday openings. And the recommendation is that we support the request. I have a motion by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Iannone. I'll call that vote. All those in favor? Thank you very much. And the next item is the Police Services Board, and it's the update on the transition of the administration and enforcement of the adult entertainment industry. And Councillor Thompson is looking for free passes. Sorry?
For what?
Sorry? Adult entertainment? No?
Well, actually, I have a lot to say about this. I'm on the Adult Entertainment Committee, and I get bombarded with concerns about different issues. I'm really confused over this because we had the regional Niagara come to us, and there's been dialogue back and forth with lawyers from the industry and the police commission and other people trying to make sure the system is appropriate, and each time there's a discussion, nothing happens. Then the region came here and said, we're going to take on the responsibility of the licensing. And we accepted that, and even the letter from the police commission suggested that that was appropriate, that the second letter in your report here indicated that they were in favor of that. And then we get a letter from the police commission saying, no, we don't want to do that. Back in 1995 and whatever, there were some problems. There haven't been any problems with the adult entertainment business for many, many years. And all they want to do is have a system that is supportive of entertainment. And what the big thing, in fact, the police commission, if they said, we're going to keep it, but we're going to extend the hours, so what happens? The entertainers come in from Toronto, the GTA, from Ottawa, Montreal for the weekend, and they get here at 5 o'clock. It's closed. They can't sign up, or they can't work for the weekend. And this upsets the industry people, and it doesn't give the opportunity for success in the business. So the region come in, said they wanted to take it over. We agreed with that, and the main thing I said to them at that time, make sure you talk with the industry and the stakeholders. And none of that has taken place. They didn't talk to them. So I'm going to make a motion that we refer this to our staff and indicate that there has to be dialogue and input from the stakeholders with the region and the police commission to come back with a satisfactory resolution with this whole matter. And I'll make that a motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Councillor Thompson. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Carrier. Any questions or comments of the motion? Okay, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, the Niagara Parks Commission?
I make a motion to appoint Councillor Carrier.
I'd like
Okay.
to submit my name.
Okay.
I'll second Carrier's.
I don't know if it's by way of motion. If there's more than one person interested, I can ask the clerk.
Typically, if there is more than one person interested, then it would be a vote of council.
It's a vote of council? Okay, in that case then, I'll accept the motion to appoint Councillor Carrier. Moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded
No,
by...
that's not what he said.
Oh.
You have to do ballot.
Just that Wayne Campbell's also expressed interest in being.
So it's not a vote of council?
Well, we'd have two
I
putting
thought you meant a
forward.
vote by way of motion.
You could go either way, but I would suggest that if we've got two people interested, that council vote as to who should be the representative.
Okay, then do you have ballots?
I don't, but I think for something minor like this, we could do it by show of hands.
That's what I just said.
That's not what you just said.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Then let's go with Councillor Carrier first. All those in favor of Councillor Carrier being there? Okay. Then Councillor Carrier is our rep once again in the Niagara Parks Commission. Okay. Moving on, we have 7.8 and 7.9, which deal with riverfront community and Thundering Waters. There's a number of pieces of correspondence that council has received over the matter. Councillor Ioannoni.
thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question. When I made the motion last time, and I rewatched it before I came to council tonight, I was told to submit my questions and I would get answers. It's on here as correspondence, but I have no answers. So I then emailed in and said, if they are in camera and if they are legal issues, I would be happy to get the answers in camera. And I didn't get a response to that. So when I watched the motion, it talks about the Auditor General's report. It talks about the correspondence from the residents. It talks about issues of process. that was passed. I'm just kind of curious as to why I didn't get any answers. So through you to Mr. Todd.
Mr. Todd?
Well, through Mr. Acting Mayor, we had indicated at the meeting that you would submit your questions to us. We've investigated the answers, but we were going to present the answers here tonight. We were not going to we never indicated we'd send the answers out. In my email to all of council about a week ago, we indicated that should we be here and should council want to hear the answers to those questions, we would provide them. Unfortunately, many of the answers to those questions are questions that would be answered by the mayor because he sat on the MPCA. There's many of the things that happen at the MPCA that I don't have knowledge of, that he would. But there are other parts of the questions that I would be able to answer. We indicated that we would be here tonight to discuss it. The only reason we wanted them circulated in advance so that we could try to get the answers to those questions for you for tonight.
And I would invite him to answer the questions that he can, and we'll wait for Mayor Diodati to answer the questions that he can. But if I email something that council voted for me to do, I would expect a report to come back and my questions be answered. I'm pretty sure somebody before that said, you know what, if you make a motion and you get the support of council, then it comes back as a report. And I did it. I gave fair warning. It was not out of line, and yet I have no answers. So we'll have to wait for Mayor Diodati to come back and answer his portion. If Mr. Todd could answer his, that would be great. Mr. Acting Mayor?
Yes.
I would be happy to redo this and it come back to us as a report with the answers in writing, and maybe the mayor will feel well enough to be here next time and he can answer the questions also.
Is that a motion?
I'd prefer that, but I want a report back. I was pretty sure, and that's exactly what the motion passed.
For what it's worth, Your Worship, I made a motion 1.5 2 years ago about the fire department looking at how similar contraventions of the bylaws are dealt with in other communities, and I haven't heard a report back, and council unanimously supported that.
I need to stay. So I'm happy to refer that to a written report when the mayor is here.
Anyone from staff like to weigh in? No?
Well, the only thing I'll say, Mr. Mayor, is we did go back and watch the tape too, and at no point in that tape and the motion did it suggest that a report would be prepared. It indicated that if you would submit your questions to us, we would have answers for those questions. We have those answers today if council wants to hear them, but there was no report requested.
I'm pretty sure when you pass a motion here, it generally comes back as a report. That's usually how we do it. That's really what I expected when the agenda. Actually, that's why I emailed and said, your minutes are entirely wrong in regards to this topic. But the mayor isn't here to answer the questions. And I'll refer this to he's back and we can get answers to all of them. So I'll defer that.
So a motion to defer?
Sure.
Okay. I have a motion to defer the matter. Moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Motion is non-debatable. All those in favor? The motion's carried.
And Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can that also come back to us as a report so that I'm clear now? I was pretty sure that that's what it was coming back that night.
I will ask staff if that's their intention. If not, then it would be by way of motion. Sorry? By way of motion.
Got to do another motion? Okay, then can I have that information? I'd like to move, I have that information back as a report for all of council to read.
Okay, so I have a motion that the answers to the questions come back in a report. Moved by Councillor Ioannoni, seconded by Councillor Campbell. Everyone understand the motion?
Questions?
Councillor Carrier, absolutely. It's not deferral.
Just a question. Any of the questions, sorry, I don't remember all of the questions. Any of the questions, something that we want our legal people to look at before we came back in open council to answer these in a report? Or is it something that some of the questions, because that we're involved in some possible litigation with the people involved, is there anything that could come back in a report that could be detrimental to the project, or the fact that it might be in litigation?
Through you, Acting Mayor, if we may come back with two reports. There may be a report for some in-camera answers, and there may be a report out here publicly, but that's something we'll have to decide.
And if we're voting that this comes back in a report, can we have the questions that we're asking?
They're on your agenda,
They're on there, all the questions?
and I emailed them to all of you.
Okay.
Any other questions before I call the vote? If not, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried.
That's for a written report.
It's for a written report.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is 7.10, correspondence from the town of Wainfleet that dealt with their opting out of cannabis retail stores. Received and filed by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Strange. All those in favor? Thank you. And the next one as well is correspondence from the Rotary Club looking for council to support their annual trivia night. I noticed that their annual trivia night isn't until February 20th, so hopefully if staff are able to come back with a report for us in terms of purchasing tickets, then yes, exactly. Then council will be free to make their independent choice as opposed to as a whole.
Is it going to come back with a policy on these table things?
That's what they said. So for the next meeting, so
Move
for the
deferral.
28th. So move deferral by Councillor Carrier and seconded by Councillor Campbell. All those in favor? Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Clerk, are there any changes to the bylaws?
No.
No? So looking for a motion to introduce the bylaws?
Is that just one motion?
Looking for a motion?
Is that just one motion then?
Based on the fact that council has adopted the procedural bylaw report tonight, by all means, let's have it by one motion tonight.
First, second, and third.
Motion for the first, second, and third reading. First time that's ever happened.
First time.
First time that's ever happened.
Part of that history, please.
You're moving it?
That'll be part of that history.
Seconded by Councillor Strange. I'll ask for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Mr. Clerk? You have to read them out.
Bylaws 2019-1 to 2019-11, read a first, second, third time and passed.
Okay, and since the mayor's not here, there is no new business.
In fact, you should get a store. I'm going to get a store, sure.
I'm just kidding. Does anyone have new business tonight? Great.
Move adjournment?
Seeing none? Yes?
I'm sorry, I know, it'll be fast. I'm sure everybody, or maybe didn't see today that Premier Ford is now gonna look at amalgamation.
Yes.
And we are one of the regions he is looking at. And he's not even sure that it will not be within this term of council. So I just think it's very interesting to see what he's doing now. It's becoming, he's really trying to expand his scope of power. And I don't know if that's a good thing for us right now or a bad thing.
Okay, Councillor Strange.
Yes, Sir Acting Mayor, I just want to, best wishes to our Mayor Jim Diodati.
Yes.
He finished his last chemotherapy appointment last week. I don't know if you saw it on Facebook, him ringing the big bong at the Walker
Gong.
Clinic. Dong? The wrong or dong?
Not the wrong.
You know what, we watched him, and we watched him go through all the chemotherapy treatments, and we watched him come to council when, man, he should not have been here. And I know he missed a couple chemo treatments because of it. And so he showed so much courage and strength, and I'm sure everyone has seen everyone fighting cancer, and when it's someone that you love, and that's the leader of our city, And he had to go through an election and win an election through that. So I just want to wish the best, and I'm so happy that we're going to have him back very soon.
Yeah, well said. Any other new business? If not, then I have a motion for adjournment by Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Dabrowski. All those in favor? Thank you very much.
Stuff over here on the floor to be cleaned up.